Mama.
Mama. We made it. What it do, dawg? Yeah. Oh, fucking we. Just to let y'all know, I'm going to let Joe start this shit. Actually finish it because I just started this shit. But Nushi Gucci's in the building. We got a Gucci do-rag on. Shout out to Keo.
Gucci. Shout out.
Gucci.
Nushi being the extreme assholishness to the maximum.
The assholery is at its finest at this moment.
In the best way possible.
You goddamn right.
Well, ladies,
appreciated.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's a vibe.
I appreciate that you appreciate it. And we on.
And we here. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a guest here today. My brother, my comrade, my dear friend.
Yeah, we're friends. We're
you
good
got
friends.
really Caucasian there.
Yeah,
and
you know
I
what?
respect
I got to throw it in there. I got to throw it in there.
Yes.
Just so you know.
Yes.
We got Matt Seigel in the building, ladies and gentlemen.
Matt motherfucker Seigel in the building.
Hello, guys.
What it do,
be
baby?
here, for real.
It's a damn pleasure to have you here, bro.
No, 100%. And we talked about this. You know, you're one of those people who we've known for a long time. You and I have been friends for a really long time and have seen the evolution of from matter to just matter to back to matter to Matt Seigel.
Hello.
And it's been a beautiful thing.
The reincarnations.
The reincarnations, one after another. And recently when we've been talking, I mean, your story is incredible. And me seeing it and being a part of it along that way as you move through these different avenues in these different parts of your life and as your trajectory continues to go up. I'm happy you're here and we're capturing that moment, my man.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to be here. I mean, I remember chatting with you like when I was still in New York about like what was going on and all these changes. Because yeah, I mean, I've known you a long time, man.
Yeah, dude.
Long time.
How long y'all known each other?
I mean,
over 10 years.
Yeah.
Probably like a solid decade.
We've been making music. We started making music together for 10 years.
Fuck.
Yeah. And we have a rule that, see, motherfuckers are going to know.
Let them know.
First off, we have a rule that anytime him and I link up to make music, if we're not laughing the entire time, fucking session's canceled.
I feel that.
We got to be like busting up, dying laughing.
I respect that.
The entire
time. That's how you know you're making great music.
That's a high
great
bar.
Art, period.
That's a high bar to set too.
Yeah.
Have y'all ever canceled a session?
No.
Okay.
No.
Good. Good for both of you.
It never gets
And we
there.
did some, I mean, do you remember that real bad like electro pop remix that we did?
We've done some really terrible music. Like, we've actually even produced. So here's a quick story before we get into your story.
Yeah. That's what I was hoping. We're just going to turn this on its head. This is going to be the Roush story.
We, there was this singer, and she wanted us to make a beat for her. An aspiring singer, but it was terrible. What she wanted was awful. And she wanted this like electro pop beat, but not even in a cool way, like cheesed out style. And we're like, all right, that's what she wants. That's what she gets. And just the entire time as we're making it, it was just like such a clown session. And she loved it. And it turned out to be like such a, like if you're going to put the cheesy electro banger vibe in there, this was at the top.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was
like if it was on the Disney Channel, they'd be like, nah, that's too soft.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, we hit it there.
Like,
That's fucking wild.
But anyway, we'll get there too.
We farted on the track. Remember?
Shut the fuck up.
It's hidden in the track.
Stop that.
Stop
that.
It's literally
out there. We farted.
I fucking love that.
That was that's been a secret for 5 years.
That's the greatest thing I've ever heard. Single-handedly.
As I've heard it being said, that's mama talk.
No, now y'all know.
Look how red this dude is getting.
Because it's so real. Like we straight up, it's hidden in the track.
What the fuck?
I'm glad that's how we're starting this podcast.
Y'all both farted on the track?
It was we picked the best one and placed that in under like a kick
But
drum.
honestly, I'm here to talk about how seriously I take my art, guys.
All right, guys, podcast is done. That was enough.
And most people probably won't even listen to the whole thing.
I'm just mentally going back to that moment of like how we were crying as that was happening, and we just let it be, and it was still fire.
Dude, at that time, I was like this beautiful, massive, ridiculous studio in Santa Monica with Adam.
So nice.
And we made that track at my house.
Yeah.
I feel you. I feel you.
Because we could.
It was very close to home, as we could tell. Cats were really comfortable.
Oh my God, it was amazing.
Yeah, it was great.
Now talking about home, man, let's take it back, man. Let's start from the beginning. You know, growing up, your fellow Angelino.
Yeah.
From birth.
Yeah.
And specifically Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting about Beverly Hills is that, you know, most people throughout the world see only one side of Beverly Hills. And usually the side they see in movies or 90210 or the glam rich lifestyle, basically anything like north of Sunset. But that's how they picture all of Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
But being from there, talk about starting out as a kid growing up and what that was like in the early stages.
Yeah, sure. So I was born in St. John's in Santa Monica. My parents were living in Sherman Oaks at the time. We moved to Beverly Hills when I was 3. And the house that I grew up in is the same house my dad grew up in.
Wild.
Insane.
Yeah.
I had no clue.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
So I mean, my dad grew up kind of bounced all around Los Angeles. My dad, so not only am I from Los Angeles, my dad's from Los Angeles. Like we're like from here.
And that's actually super rare. See, my parents aren't even from here. So it's like to get a double generation at your stage is super rare, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we can get into my dad's story later, but yeah, so growing up for all intents and purposes, I grew up in Beverly Hills my whole life, right? Yeah. And when you're growing up as a kid, like, you don't know any better. I just, like, you know, I've listened to a lot of your shows, and I think different than a lot of the guests on your shows, like, I didn't have that hard of an upbringing. I'm not going to front, like, I was from the hood. Yeah. Like, I grew up, like, you know, west of Robertson. Like,
yeah.
You know,
you were born into possibility.
Yeah, exactly. We weren't rich. Yeah. I didn't want for anything. Yeah. We didn't struggle. Yeah. You know, and, you know, I think that in itself, we can get to, like, leads to, for lack of a better word, the possibility. Yeah. Right. But then a lot of that also comes from my parents, which we can talk about. But growing up in Beverly Hills, and until you start to get older and formulate thoughts on your own and think about what we were actually talking about before this all started is like that perspective, right? Yeah. And the way that you think that people see you. Yeah. Right. And it's like, oh, you know, there's times, I'm not going to lie, like I'm sure you feel it's like, you maybe don't want to say that you grew up in Beverly Hills.
Dude, there was a time I was so embarrassed, like when I went to college.
Really?
Like when I first went to college, they had this is really like the first time I experienced it. And went to college, and I go to my dorm, and they had your name and the city you were from on, like, right outside in the hallway, like right on your door. Yeah. And it's like, you know, my roommate, like, Pat White, Huntington Beach, Joe Roush, Beverly Hills. And I was like, ooh,
it's a fuck boy.
That's coming down. Yeah. That's coming down. And, you know, it wasn't until like later that it's nothing to be ashamed of, you know, but for some reason you get that feeling when you're older.
Why?
You know, it's similar to like when we've heard of people growing up in the hood and they don't really know it until they get that perspective later. Like, oh shit, later I realized it was a terrible neighborhood. Yeah. But growing up as a kid, you don't really realize that. On the flip side, it's kind of how it was if you were just a normal, even like blue collar kid living in Beverly Hills. And what a lot of people don't know about Beverly Hills, especially south of Beverly Hills, is that it's mostly just either apartments or just normal houses. And a lot of people are just blue collar workers. Yeah. And my family, for instance, moved there because of the education. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of that too in Beverly Hills where people just move there. Exactly. They'll have like 3 kids sharing one room just so they can go to the school. Yeah. So you don't see this extreme you do see the extreme level of wealth, but you also just see very just like anywhere else in all parts of the country, just very normal kids. Yeah.
Yeah, but no one wants to talk about that because that's boring, right?
I feel you.
It's like, oh, look, there's normal kids playing basketball.
Yo.
Great, no one cares. You know, so you're going to talk about all that's perceived in the media, and like per that same conversation is like that the world is looking at Beverly Hills because the world has heard of Beverly Hills, right?
Absolutely.
The same way the world has heard of Compton, right?
Yeah.
One has one perspective, one has a different perspective.
Absolutely.
And anyone, unless you're living there, you don't know anything about what's going on there.
Yeah.
Right?
True story.
So, and that's the only comparison I'll make to Beverly Hills and Compton.
Yeah. Respect.
Except for the fact that we're both in the middle of this massive city.
Absolutely.
And everyone's passing through everywhere.
Absolutely.
Right? Like Beverly Hills is in the middle of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to claim like, well, that's because that makes it, we get everything, but you're in the middle of one of the biggest cities in the world, right?
Absolutely.
So growing up with that, like I grew up just playing sports every day. That was my life. I just wanted to play sports. I played every single sport.
What was like the family life like? Like how were you, like your mom and dad and in the crib interaction?
Again, different than I think a lot of the guests that may have been on, or at least the number of shows that I've listened to is like, and I feel that it's unfortunate that I have to put it this way, but it's like I feel ridiculously, incredibly lucky. I had the best parents. I currently still do have the best parents.
Bang.
My parents are completely in love. They showed my brother and I how to love, how to like grow properly. They raised us both properly.
That's fucking incredible.
We're smart. We're gentlemen. We're talented. Like we love our family. We're super close.
Yeah.
You know, my parents are just the fact that my parents are still together, unfortunately, is something super rare. And I feel really like lucky that I had that.
And your parents are just beautiful people, like the nicest people. That's the other part of it too. Is like, just you like. I mean, your dad is amazing, and your mom. I mean, it's just like they are just the nicest, warm, welcoming people to everyone instantly. And like you said, it's unfortunate because that has to kind of be a rare thing sometimes.
Yeah, it's like, thank you. And I appreciate that statement. And I feel the same way. Like,
Yeah.
I feel so lucky. And that goes into allowing me to then later in life go on and just like be artistic. I want to just go like be an artist, you know? And having that support system from your family, just being like, okay, we support you in not necessarily a monetary sense, but sort of just like a spiritual sense. We're here for you.
We're here for you. As parents,
you can do anything that you want, right?
Yes.
That's what any parent
and
would
for a lot
want
of parents,
for their children.
that concept is hard because at the end of the day, you'll never know what being a parent's like until you're a parent, right? There's no fucking there's all these books, there's no handbook for the shit. But even the parents that like are always there for their kids, but when it comes time to that career choice, like some of them may be iffy because it's like parents just want their kids to be independent and happy. And a lot of the creative paths that some of us like choose to take don't end up there at all. Like the ones that, whether they're working and they're happy or whether they reach superstardom, it's an anomaly. You know what I mean? And for parents, I feel like it's like a big guard for them to be like, no, don't go down there, or it becomes a big thing. Mm-hmm. But with that being said, were your parents in the creative world as well?
No. So my mom ran one of the largest non-for-profit vocational services in LA County.
Got it.
JVS for close to 40 years. She actually just retired last year.
Mama.
Shout out.
My mama made it. My mama made
Enjoy that retirement, Ma. You made it.
She's one of the most incredible women on planet Earth. And of course, everyone's going to say that about their mom, but she like literally dedicated her life to she just helped people.
Just literally helps people.
She just helps people. That's
get
her
jobs.
That's fucking incredible.
And plus, I mean, that's just like such a basic way of saying
it's
it.
The most basic way that I can put it.
Function.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But dedicated her life to that. Like that's again, going back to the type of person you have to be. It's like, that's what your life mission is, and that's what you make it, and that's what you dedicate your life to, is giving, you know?
Yeah.
And helping.
And then my dad, I mean, in his own way, my dad is super artistic in his own way. But for a career, my dad, like, before he moved to the house where he grew up, and he kind of, like I said, bounced around all around Los Angeles and spent a fair amount of time by the beach.
Yeah.
And just wanted to be in the ocean.
Word.
He grew up in Southern California kid, growing up in like the 50s and 60s, and you just want to go surf.
Yeah.
And so he took that into his career, and he ran the fish department at the Natural History Museum in downtown.
Wild.
So my dad was a marine biologist, essentially, technically an ichthyologist, but like every kid grows up says, well, I want to be a marine biologist. That's what my dad did.
That's fucking epic.
Yeah. Just like loves fish. That's what he does.
He just loves fish. He just loves the ocean.
Yeah.
That's lit as fuck.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, he just wants to be by the ocean.
Wild.
So why not, right?
Yeah.
And he didn't make a ton of money. Like, I'll be super real. Like, my mom was the breadwinner.
Yeah.
You know? My dad was the coach. He he took a job where he didn't have to be at work 100 hours a week.
And he could
spend
dad.
time with my brother and I.
Yeah.
And he could be dad. And he coached every single one of our teams. Every team. He was at every game.
Wild.
He cooked dinner every night. He taught Steve and I how to cook. Steve's my brother.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's where both he and I got it from a young age. Like, I love to cook. And that came from my dad showing us how to cook.
Wow.
Because he was able to be around to do that because he made that a priority in his life.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't care.
And him and your mom had that understanding.
And that was that understanding.
That was that synergy there.
Yeah. And that didn't seem weird.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be weird.
No.
Right? Like, that's what we're all still fighting for, right? For, like, some sort of equality. Yeah. Like, it doesn't have to be. Why? Like, what?
The roles don't need to be.
There isn't such a. Yeah.
It's a unit.
Right.
Not like
Yeah.
apartments.
Yeah.
Very so true.
So I got to see that. My dad loves gardening. He'd be, like, out in the back just, like, planting roses.
It's wild because,
you know,
like,
making chicken. Like,
you speaking of your dad, it's very
hanging
similar.
out in the water.
It's very similar to that dynamic because my mom was a breadwinner and my dad was like Zen master. You know what I'm saying? Like loving dude, cook crazy, gardens now. You know what I mean? Like super calm. My mom's a fireball, but like, what were kind of your passions and I mean. So it seems that you just grew up in a household that things were just were you just always encouraged to get after it, to find what you enjoyed? Like, what was that?
I mean, so all right, Steve and I talk about this a lot.
Okay,
and I'm sure my dad's going to listen to this, but that's fine.
He damn well better.
You know, we were encouraged to, we could do whatever we wanted. Not in a sense where it's like, oh yeah, go to the park and tag up the park and then, lit on fireworks.
Go get 'em, son.
No. But like, if we wanted to play a sport, like you could play that sport. You wanted to go do this or that and you wanted to sing or you wanted whatever. Most of it was geared towards sports because that's just what Steve and I loved and that's what my dad loved and that's what little boys do, right?
Yeah.
Before there's, phones in your face all the time.
Absolutely.
You go outside and you just play sports.
Yeah, Little League, AYSO, YMCA,
We just
ball,
did
all
all
that.
of it.
That's what you do. Yeah.
Word.
And like I said, my dad was the coach. And so clearly we got that reinforcement from him. Did he like drive it down our throat? Just like practice. No.
Word.
Maybe that's good. Maybe that's not.
Yeah,
Maybe,
it is what it is.
Maybe we would have been better athletes if we had been pushed harder. I don't know.
Who knows?
Maybe I would have been better at music if I had been forced to play piano when I was 3.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still distinctly remember my brother took piano lessons. And my parents wanted to get me to take piano lessons. And I was like, I don't want to play piano. I want to play drums. Drums are way cooler than piano, And let's keep real, like, come on.
They're for sure fucking cooler than piano.
But the piano is essentially like the ultimate instrument. You can play piano,
Absolutely.
You understand music,
Yeah.
you can kind of play everything, especially now with like synthesizers that can play every instrument. But my parents were pretty adamant on that. They're like, no, Matt, like, learn to play the piano, learn to read music, and once you understand, then you can venture off and go play other instruments. And me being a stupid kid, as stupid kids say, I was like, no, I just want to play the drums.
Yeah.
And his dad is a bass player.
Word.
But at this time, I didn't know any of that. Growing up, like, we listened to a lot of music. There was definitely music being played in our house.
Okay.
But my dad, which I found out way later in life through my own venture into music, is just this like multi-instrumentalist, can play just about anything, just like doesn't know how to read, can just pick up an instrument and start playing it. Super uber talented. His dad was a professional musician. My grandfather, who I never met, he passed away when my dad was really young. Yeah, he played in all these like big band. He played like saxophone and clarinet. He played in a bunch of big band jazz bands.
Oh, that's fucking lit.
And so my dad definitely grew up around music and learned to play all these instruments and played in a bunch of like high school bands and was that was, you know, he was into that.
Yeah.
And so when they were trying to get me to play music, I was just like, I just want to play drums. I just want to bang on things and like, I have rhythm. I just want to like listen, you know. But you know, we got into that. They wanted me to play piano. I want to play drums. So then it never happened, right?
Word.
And so I just grew up playing sports, and that was really just my focus. But within that, I had their full praise. Hey, you want to just go play sports? Great, play sports. Oh, you happen to be pretty good at baseball. You should maybe pursue baseball. So,
Word.
you know, and that was really it. Like up until I got into high school, like all of my time, all of my summers, camps, leisure time was sports. Sports. Music was never a thing other than just like something we listened to around the house or in the car on a long drive.
Got it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
It wasn't really around.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know that my dad was like that deep into music until I started to, on my own, show an interest in it.
That's wild. Like, so he didn't just like instruments around the house, just pick it up.
No.
Start.
Because if you go to that, I mean, I don't know what the house is now, but if you would go to their house in the last recent years, he had a room with like 4 basses hanging from the wall.
Yeah, that's true. No, I mean, he literally like we turned when my brother and I moved out of the house.
Yeah.
My room became like an office, guest room, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and then Steve's room became like the music room. Wow. And I like had a rack of records that I leave there because I have too many records that they just can't fit in my house anymore, and they just got to put them wherever I can put them.
Yeah.
You know. And then it was just like my dad's got, you know, a couple different amps, and then like, you know, 6-string guitars and bass guitars just everywhere.
That's epic.
Yeah.
And what was the dynamic of like between you and Steve? Matt, you're the older.
I'm the older brother.
You guys is because in so many ways, I think you guys are so different.
Yes.
You know, knowing both of you. And actually, your brother's in my grade, so I knew your brother before I actually knew you.
Yeah.
And so what was your guys' dynamic growing up together?
I mean, we were pretty close. Like any brothers, like of course we fought, and there was just like petty stuff. We never got in any real fights. Never. Like we had stupid brother stuff and whatever. We get in like little altercations and we'd wrestle and all that kind of stuff. And we were definitely very competitive. That's for sure. Because we were both super athletic.
Yeah.
And wanted to do good at sports, you know? And like, but for those of you that know my brother, he's substantially bigger than I am, right? Like,
yeah.
By the time he was 12, he's essentially the size he is now.
Yeah, his brother's what, like 6'4" or 6'2"?
Like 6'2".
Wait, what the fuck? He was 12 and 6'2"?
Yeah.
What in God's name?
He was definitely north of 6 feet by the time he was 12, by the time 13, yeah. And so by that time, like I'm 15, and I'm like in my like peak high school athlete physical condition, and my brother's just punking me. And from that point on, from 12 until the rest of history, you know, Steve's going to be better than me at sports. And that's just what it's going to be, right?
Just from size.
And as a 15-year-old kid, you fucking hate that. Fuck. Right? He's all of a sudden bigger, faster, stronger, everything. You know? And it's the big brother. It's like, oh, well, shit. You know, I used to be able to at least run faster. Yeah. Like, I was always really fast. But then once Steve started really training and going on to play, my brother played football at UCLA. So once you go into a program like that, I mean, come on, it's over.
Yeah,
right?
you're just like supersized.
He's a machine.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the dynamic between us was we were brothers. You know, we were close. We never got in like really big fights. But we were competitive, like,
yeah.
And I think it was in the best way. But I will tell you, when I moved away, so my freshman year of college, I left and went to University of Arizona. Why? I have no fucking idea. I just wanted to like leave Los Angeles. I was just ready to get out of LA. I didn't know anything about that school. I never visited the campus. I was just like, oh, this is somewhere that's like far enough away. Like, I'm just going to go there. I just don't want to be here anymore. Like I'd grown up playing baseball my whole life and all these other sports, and I was a decent baseball player in high school. I had a really good junior year. My senior year, it kind of fell off. I had offers to like go play at like smaller D3 schools around Southern California.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
And like I could have made that happen, and it was like, yeah, but like for what? You know, I was just like, I'm just sick of it. I've been playing baseball every day since I was like 7.
Yeah.
Like, I just didn't want to do it anymore.
Was there something that, like, looking back at it now, you can say, you know what, I just wanted to kind of leave Los Angeles? Was there something that made you want to leave? Because I know in those moments.
Right, in those moments you never know.
It's either like, okay, I want to go here, or your ideal school is NYU and you've always wanted to go there. Sometimes for kids, it's either, I just want to leave this area and experience college, or I want to stay close to home. Because for me, I never thought, it's wild. I never thought of like all these other schools. Like for me, being from California, it was always UCLA, Berkeley, or USC, right? And then when I start like in touring and going to these different colleges, like I went to University of Indiana, and I'm like, bro, this fucking shit's lit.
You did a tour there?
Yeah, like, well, me and David went on the road there, and like,
when you went there,
yeah, we were in Bloomington,
see,
and I was like, fuck, like, this college town rocks. Like, what the fuck? What was I thinking?
Yeah, we don't really get that in Los Angeles. I
No.
mean, you go to USC.
It's
like,
all
USC
commuter
is, like,
schools.
come on, that's
Yeah.
not a community.
Yeah, fuck you
Even
too.
Westwood's not really a community.
No, but for real though, they're all of them are commuter schools, except Santa Barbara.
Right. Yeah.
Santa Barbara's kind of more like super college town.
Sure, I'm talking about Southern California.
Yes,
in Los
yes,
Angeles.
you're damn right.
Yeah, like that. You're not. Yeah, it's not like that.
No,
you know?
not at all.
But so honestly, like I have thought about it, and I look back at that time in my life.
Yeah.
There wasn't like I'll be real up front. I didn't get the best grades in school.
Word.
I'm not an idiot. I'm not a genius. I just didn't get great grades. I wasn't good at taking tests.
Yeah.
Let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
And so I didn't necessarily have an opportunity to go to Cal Berkeley, right? I didn't even bother applying. Like that wasn't in the cards.
Yeah.
So I just knew that there was something. I honestly don't know what it was. I just knew I needed to leave. And maybe that goes on to me wanting to go move to New York and like do these other things and travel.
You just felt like there was something you had to do. Yeah.
I just needed to go. And I love Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I love it.
Die hard.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Like, but I wanted perspective. You gotta have perspective.
Absolutely.
I think that's really what it is. At the time, I didn't really realize that it's like I need to broaden my horizons. But
And you
now
could be
looking back on it, like,
you could be in a really huge bubble here in LA.
Absolutely.
it's the worst.
Like,
Absolutely,
It's the worst.
you can. Especially
you
Los
hit it, man.
Angeles.
It gets
Totally.
really monotonous very, very fast. You know, when LA's your home, I tell this to people all the time, like, oh, what's it like growing up in LA? I'm like, it's probably the exact same, like how it's pretty much anywhere. After a while, you kind of get over a lot of the stuff, and it's like, what's LA? It's my family, it's my work, it's my friends.
Yeah.
Just like any
Yeah,
other.
all of a sudden goes like this.
Yeah, it's just like any other city.
Routine.
Yeah, I got to go to the
routine.
supermarket the same way you do. Like it's just it's the same.
I got my
shit.
cleaners. I got
Yeah.
my market. I
Yeah.
got my gym.
Yeah.
And then a place like Arizona, or when I went to Santa Cruz, like I was like, oh, this is different. Like
Yeah.
people do things differently here.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's just a whole bunch of new people that you don't know. You can go just be whoever you want,
Yes.
right? You can just like, I'll do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
was
I'm anyone.
Yeah.
I feel that.
And when you're 17 years old, it's like, oh yeah,
I can
go.
dig that.
I can go just be different. Like I don't want to just be Matt Seigel, grew up playing baseball on the pier. Like
Yeah,
you know?
that
And
everybody
maybe
in the
that's
city
not what
knows.
it was at the time. I didn't know that, but
Yeah.
maybe it was just like I needed something fresh.
Word. How was that experience for you?
Arizona was a strange experience, but that
Well, go deeper into that. Like, fuck
so in that
Okay.
in the wanting to gain perspective.
Okay.
If I hadn't gone to Arizona, my whole life would be different.
1 trillion
Going to
%.
Arizona completely changed my whole life in the most unbelievable way. So I moved to Tucson in 1998. I'm 17 years old. And
Yeah, you were young when you graduated high school then,
Yeah,
too.
I was young. My birthday was December, so I was supposed to be a grade below, but I was like on that cusp.
Yeah, that cutoff.
So we actually so when I was in kindergarten, we lied on my like transcripts because the cutoff, and I'll never forget, the cutoff is December 3rd. My birthday, so if you're born before December 3rd, you're in the higher grade. If you're born after December 3rd, you're in the lower grade. That's where it cuts it. Because that's when you go on like winter break. And that's when they My birthday is December 16th. On those transcripts, my parents omitted the 6th and said that my birthday was December 1st.
Wild.
So that I could be in the higher grade.
Oh, that's wild.
So I was always the youngest in my grade. Always.
Can you imagine if they didn't do that? Your life would be completely different.
I have no
So
idea.
there's actually people in your grade that are literally a year older than you.
A whole year older
Like a
than me.
whole year older.
Yeah, he's like 17 in Arizona. I was like, oh, really?
I mean, my senior year, put this in perspective.
That's a fucking book, 17 in Arizona.
Yeah.
My senior year of high school, I stopped playing football for the rest of my career when I was 16 years old. I never played football after being 16 years old. I was not a grown man at 16 years old. I'm playing against dudes that are 18 years old.
18 years old and
and not from Beverly Hills.
and-
you know?
just man-childs, yeah.
Let's bring Compton back.
Yeah.
Let's bring Compton back.
Because, I mean, we played them.
Yeah.
We played Centennial. We played Morningside.
Dorsey.
Those dudes are not playing around.
No.
Yeah.
They're going to college on scholarship.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're 16.
And I'm 16.
Getting whoop whapped.
Little skinny white kid, 140 pounds.
Were you safety or linebacker?
I was safety.
Safety, yeah.
Wow.
I was about to say linebacker.
Linebacker, come on, man. Our team wasn't that bad. I mean, they might be that bad now.
Yeah.
Ugh. I said it.
What was Arizona like for you?
I didn't like it. I felt out of place. Like, University of Arizona, you're either, that's like a major sports college.
Yeah.
Right? Like major D1, Pac-10
Oh, yeah, huge.
college. If you're not playing sports or in a fraternity, it's like a massive fraternity there. If you're not doing one of those two things,
You're an outsider.
You're the
not doing
minority for
anything.
sure.
You're not doing anything.
So
you're in the middle of the desert.
So
with
did you
nothing
not
to do.
want to join?
Oh, wow.
I just never was.
What was it like? Because I want to. Because look, like we go through this as kids, right? Like, join a frat, don't join a frat. This, that,
just
the
never
other.
wanted to do it. It just
Got
seemed
it.
like in my
But
mind,
you also
those
knew
guys
that
were
not by
super-
not doing it, you
super
were like
douchey.
completely on the outside. Then, in
I
the
guess
desert.
after that, I was just like, oh, okay, I got nothing to really do. So, these days are smoking pot. That's cool. Like,
Word.
sorry, mom and dad, but like,
Yeah.
that was a lot of what Arizona was, and I knew that. I knew that when I was there.
Did you know people there?
I didn't know anybody.
So you're just there in the middle of the desert
In the
alone.
middle of the desert alone with my roommate who was fucking weird, and I didn't like him at all. But I was just like, what am I fucking doing here?
Now you know. I know you're listening. Now you know.
Now you know. You're weird, dude. You're weird. Like, weird's fine. I'm weird, but like that dude was out there.
Wild.
And it's just like that. So that's the first time it's like I have to now share this tiny little space with this dude that I don't know and I really don't like.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. And the way that the dorms were set up there was it was sort of like a suite. So it was like 2 people in one room and then like a little bathroom and then 2 people in another room. So
Yeah.
like 4 people sharing a bathroom.
Okay.
My suite mate was a guy named John from New Orleans, and he and I like instantly hit it off. John and I became really close friends. The reason why Arizona was such a turning point in my life was John. So I started Arizona in after this, so like September or October. That Christmas, for Christmas, John got a set of turntables from his mom. And so he moved off campus. I don't know where the money came from. I didn't ask.
Yeah.
I didn't care.
Yeah.
He moved off campus into this little apartment on like right off Speedway, which is like the main street in Tucson. And he had like a bed and some decks. And he was like, yo, you want to like, we were both super into like underground, this is like late 90s, like rave culture is like big at that time,
Word.
right?
It really was.
That's when it was like starting to hit
Straight up.
in the US after it was in Europe.
Yeah.
And so we were like both really into that, like deep into drum and bass, deep into underground hip hop. and like he was like, we were really vibing on that kind of music. So when he got these turntables, he's like, hey man, you want to start just like, he's like, I don't know how to use these things, but my mom knows that like I'm super into this like kind of DJ culture thing.
Yeah.
And so she got me these turntables. You want to just like, I don't know, you want to do it together? It's like, hell yeah. There's one record store on Speedway, and I went and started just like, bought like, I don't know, 25 records. And it was like, honestly, it was like West Coast underground, like gangster rap.
Word.
And then like dirty ass drum and bass.
Word.
And that was it.
You were like on the eclectic outskirts then.
Yeah.
And were you like big into music just in general, like as a listener?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was listening to like pretty much pop, rock and roll, hip hop. Like I was just like listening to like general music. I mean, my dad like was definitely,
because there was kids who like would like, as kids, you make it a part of your lifestyle. You would go and to record stores, hang out there and make music a big part of it. Were you like that, or just more like a general at the time, just a general listener?
Just a general listener. But like I really did like this like kind of underground dance scene, you know? And like there was reasons why people like those things, and I'm not going to say that that's not part of the reason, but like a lot of it was like I really liked the music. Like I was just like into it. I like music that's like really emotional. And I knew that back then. Like hard ass drum and bass is really fucking emotional. And that emotion is aggression. Right? When you're a 17-year-old kid, like
it's that angst, aggression.
You have like you just want to listen to that. Like maybe it's punk rock, maybe now it's dubstep, but for me it was drum and bass.
Yeah.
You know? And then like underground hip hop, because we grew up in California, like that's what it was, right?
Yeah.
The underground hip hop scene here was amazing at the time. You know, in the late 90s, early 2000s, like all this underground hip hop was killing it.
And it's crazy because it was
and then the coming off all that like West Coast gangster.
That's what I was gonna say. Like we had like such a strong West Coast hip hop scene here, and I'm realizing more and more New York was really known way more for hip hop overall than LA, but from being in this fucking bubble, for us, West Coast hip hop was super integral and integrated into this. And it was like, I mean, Dre, the Dog Pound, Snoop.
Yeah, I mean, that was
like,
everywhere.
Deep, corrupt.
Yeah, I mean, in like
Sugar Free,
like Spice
Quick,
One and like
Spice
Too
One,
Short and like E40 and all that stuff.
Yeah,
like
even from the Bay Area.
Yeah, like the Hieroglyphics crew and like all that kind of stuff. And
Mac
even like
Dre.
Yeah, like all that like super West Coast gangster shit.
And that stuff was so good.
Like I bought the Bloods and Crips Banging on Wax on cassette.
Oh my gosh.
Like I was the white kid from Beverly Hills that like bought the like gangster rap album.
It's and a lot of people don't know, like, there was the Bloods and Crips made an album. That was the group.
And that shit was funky as fuck.
So good.
So good.
And the whole G-Funk and all the huge part of funk music really shaped the sound. And for us as, white kids from Beverly Hills, it still spoke to us in that way. And it wasn't like, I never felt personally like it was a glorified thing. It just what was going on. It was the sound of the city. And it was everywhere. And it was what you identified with, as a kid growing up in the city, where you experienced the riots. You experienced that gang influence here, even living in the area of Beverly Hills. It was still an influence. And like you said, it was crossing through. It was in Santa Monica, in East LA, on Sunset. When Sunset used to be cruising. Like during high school, Sunset was all about cruising. Tons of lowriders. That was the big thing until they put that the no cruise zone.
Yep, and that was an actual thing.
A very actual thing. And so like the influence of it.
Yeah, and that's coming off the heels of like the movie that everyone's now seen of like the NWA movie, and like that's like after all that had just split up. Cube's doing his thing, and Dre's just started working the Death Row, and like Pac is popping, and like. It's like the heyday for West Coast.
Yeah.
Hip hop.
No, it was huge. And that's just like an interesting perspective and also just perception of it didn't kind of matter where you lived or where you're from, you felt that, and it was still a part and still very important to what it meant to grow up as a kid in LA. Now taking that, going back from that tangent and going back to Arizona.
Yeah.
So you see these turntables. What's your instinct? What's your feeling?
I just started I remember John and I went to this record store, and I wish I could remember what the name of it was, but I don't. It might have just been called Speedway Record. It was on Speedway. It was the only record store in Tucson. In Tucson, there's nothing there, man. There's nothing there. And maybe it's different now. I haven't been there since 1999, but I don't really have any desire to go back. Not a negative. It wasn't a bad place. Yeah. I don't need to go there. But yeah, John he bought a stack of records. I bought a stack of records, and we just started fucking around. We didn't know anything. There wasn't YouTube. There wasn't Scratch Academy. There was no way to learn how to DJ other than Qbert was doing his thing, and there was some sort of tutorials, but that wasn't a real thing. He was putting out weird Sugar Fragger videos, and it was just some weird geeky turntablist nerdcore,
Yeah.
And I just started messing around with it. I didn't know what I was supposed to even do. Mm-hmm. You pick up a guitar and it's okay, one hand does this and one hand strums, and it's oh, okay, that's how I can. Oh, that's a chord. It's that's
totally.
Not even a thing.
Totally.
There's no sheet music. There's nothing.
No. And this was even during the time of wow, it's getting windy here.
Yeah, man.
This is during the time, or was this before where you had Qbert and the Invisible Scratch?
I mean, those guys. That was when those guys were really starting to become a thing. They definitely existed.
So the DJ,
the Beat Junkies and ISP and X-Men and all that.
Yeah, it became that scratch culture.
Yeah,
was just starting out during this time.
Yeah, that was so at that time that was before hip hop even existed at raves. A quote unquote rave party.
Oh yeah,
was just dance music. They didn't have hip hop there. There was the hardcore room, the happy hardcore. There was the techno room, and then there was the drum and bass room.
Yeah. And
then starting in the early 2000s, hip hop started to become a part of that. And then it was showing off all of these quote unquote hip hop DJs who could juggle and scratch and do all this kind of stuff. And that whole scene was really starting to take off. Late 90s, early 2000s. And I got really into that. Learned scratching and beat juggling and that whole scene, because that just sort of came out of hip hop.
And it's so interesting to think, it's for us, it sounds just normal. That's what you do as a DJ. But now, even to think about what the definition of a DJ is now, and it's not oh my God.
I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's not I'm one to say okay, real DJ and this, that, but it's just if you understand the term DJing, the time you were doing it, there was just a different style of music, right?
Yeah.
It's
totally.
just that's just what it was. And it developed into an art.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard people talk about it the same way that people talk about emceeing, where it was just this thing that people did because they wanted to be artistic and express themselves, and then all of a sudden it became this sort of thing, and then the MC is everything, right?
Yeah.
And you can say the same thing happened for DJing, where it's this sort of art form, and it's a positive or it's a negative, however you want to look at it, and it's just people doing it because they really love it and they want to express themselves, and they want to show off the records that they have that no one else has.
Yeah.
And that was really a big thing at the time. It was oh, I got that shit on vinyl.
Yeah.
Damn, what is that? Oh, you don't even know what that is.
That's a part of the culture, though.
That's part of the culture. It's I got that. Now I got that means nothing. It doesn't mean anything. Everyone has everything, right? Yeah. Music's free. Come on.
Access has changed that.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's definitely a group of people who have now reverted back to going all the way back to that, where it's only play records, only do this. But that's such even more of a subculture now.
Yeah.
And this isn't me talking about how the DJ world is changed. The DJ world's amazing. People can get paid 6 figures for one night.
Insane.
To play other people's music. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. But the deep, true art form is what inspired me to get into it. And that's what because I didn't know any better. I was just all this music seems awesome. I want to have access to it. I want to touch it. There's something so beautiful and tangible about a record, which is why I started collecting records.
It's weird that you didn't discover that earlier. Almost, it's like
it just wasn't around.
Yeah.
I was too busy just playing sports. I just play sports, and I was happy doing that. I love sports. I still play sports, you know. But if not for going back, if not for moving to Tucson and being put in this random room with this random weird ass roommate and my other two suite mates, one of whom I became super close friends with, who happened to get turntables that year for Christmas. Yeah. And I was just like, yo, that's cool. Let's do that. That sounds awesome.
And it's wild because you had no choice in that selection.
Right. Nothing.
None. Like,
nothing.
The administrators of the fucking housing could have done something different, and your path may be completely different. Yeah. That's the wild shit. Like, when you think about, like, the intricacies of these moments and what they mean, it's like you can't control them, but they play an influence. It's insane to me.
I was in room 529. I'll still never forget. If I was in room 528,
nothing.
Everything would be different. Everything would be different. You know, I would never touch the turntable probably. I always wanted to, when I was in high school, I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a sports writer. That's what I wanted to do.
Really?
Yeah. That's what I thought I was going to do. I was like, oh, if I can't be an athlete, I'm just going to write about sports because I love sports. Sports. That was my whole life.
Yeah.
And so I thought that's what I wanted to do. And I was a good writer. I still am a good writer. I enjoy writing. And like we were talking about earlier, it's like some sort of creative outlet, right? I need to have some sort of creative outlet. Yeah. You know, whatever that may be. I always enjoyed writing. I still enjoy writing.
Yeah.
It then turned into music.
It's wild to me when we think about it now, in that us as human beings have so many forms of expression, right? And as we get older, it kind of becomes, okay, we need to focus more. We need to like find our thing, right? And when you start to think about it, like being able to express oneself in different mediums is a beautiful thing. Like something that's done as a hobby doesn't need to be called a hobby to be accepted. You know what I'm saying? Like to be well-rounded, and like somebody likes reading or somebody likes writing poetry or this, that, and the other, like you don't have to necessarily be the greatest at it, or you don't have to like choose that as a career and have it define you as a person, but it literally just builds your palette as a human being. Who knows where these types of things will lead you, right? And I think that plays a big part in your story, and I'm jumping ahead like essence-wise, but from what I've been hearing and just like getting to know it more is that, you know, you had a lust for many things, right?
Always.
You had your things that you were really fucking good at because of routines and just because of like the positions you were put into, but you also were comfortable in wanting to explore the possibility of other things as well, which I think we'll come to understand later. But like, that's a beautiful thing. It's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Because even when we get into like our careers, like a lot of, like Benny spoke about self-worth with men, right? And I think that ties into self-worth with anybody, right? In that we're kind of bound to the restrictions of how we see other people seeing us, right? And I feel like a lot of people, especially when we start having career talk, it's wild to see when you look at it objectively, is people talk about their careers as if it's the definition of who they are, right? We hear all of this shit of like...
Which is such an American way of thinking.
Yeah, it really is. But that type of thinking like will put you in a fucking prison. It did for me for the longest time. Yeah. It does for a lot of people, but it's like, it's crazy because like we know that we're human beings and we're individuals, right? But like, where does that, like, it gets murky when we start going down a career path and we're like, this is what defines me. When people ask me what I do, I got to be comfortable saying, this is what I do. This is who I am. You're going to know me right away.
Yeah.
No, there's so much more depth and complexity to us as human beings. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like I love talking about this type of thing because, especially for the youth, it's like, look, like be comfortable being uncomfortable. be comfortable being uncertain.
It's hard,
It's
man.
it's
So we
it's
talked
really
about it. It's that word fear, man.
It is. It's really hard, but it's wild when, like, for me, I really think of it like, rock bottom really helped me realize that, and I almost didn't get the chance to. You know what I'm saying? But like, imagine if it wasn't rock bottom that allowed you to be able to be free to explore.
It's like rock bottom.
That's
was the
exactly what I'm
opportunity.
talking about.
Yeah.
Where it's like different. Like when you made that point earlier, and like I said, listen to other things. It's like I didn't do that, and that might sound boring to listeners. Like I don't have this like rags to riches story. I was supported. My parents loved me and were like, "Hey, go do this."
You have a story. Nobody's story is the same.
Of course.
There are people that grow up in infinite poverty that either excel or fail or hit a medium, right? There are people that grow up in extreme riches that either fail miserably or bound by addiction or like feel a chip on their shoulder because they came up in wealth and want to do more. There are people that grow up dirt poor that just want to ascend. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody is the same. Everybody's story is special amongst their own world because at the end of the day, we're creating our worlds, man. Like, growing up in a household where two parents love one another and two parents like are very supportive of the children, and we know that they're dedicating their lives towards us and are willing to give us everything at our disposal. That's not something to be like, well, other people didn't have that. That's special in and of itself.
And I'm not apologizing for that.
No, and to think about it too, if you think like a lot of our guests that have come on this show will provide that for their children.
You damn right.
And it's not something, that's why it's like you don't have to be ashamed just because you don't have like a rags to riches story. Mm-hmm. You have a story. Everybody has a fucking story.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm ashamed of my story. I'm just saying I'm hoping that I can shed light. That's like, hey, this can be your reality.
Straight up.
My parents did what we're all trying to do. What
Straight
everyone
up.
else is trying to do. They did it.
Yeah.
They raised two great kids.
Yeah.
And we're aware of that. We're aware of what they did.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't come until you're grown.
Yes.
You realize that.
Absolutely.
When you're a little kid, and just like, oh, there's mom, there's dad.
Yeah.
Hopefully, right? Hopefully there's mom, there's dad.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You dig what I'm saying?
You dig. So going back to you're indulging in music for the first time, which is still like tripping me out that
it took me that long.
Imagine how, like you don't realize what your passion is or what your actual love is until you've lived for 17 years to just discover that. Thinking this is your identity, this athlete, and then you're into something like so artful as music. And music has that ability to just touch people and connect in that way. But for you, it was more than just the music. It's the whole culture now. And it becomes a different side of you that's opening up. Take us through that being in Arizona and alone. You're not in a frat, you're not an athlete, but now you have music. Did you start to belong in a certain sense there?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, I had, like 3 friends in Arizona. I didn't have like a bunch of friends that I paid for to like be my brothers, and then like a bunch of girls that are going to like sleep with me because I'm like friends with these dudes and we get them drunk. And that was my mentality of like what a frat was. And I was like, I'm not paying for that.
Yeah.
But then, I just like dove headfirst into music, and I like wanted to just consume. I just wanted to like eat all of it. All right, I wanted to learn everything. I wanted to, and like,
why do you think that was?
I fell in love with it. I just totally fell in love with it.
Word.
I just got it. Like I said, I touched the turntable and it made sense. I just got it. Like, it probably took me, I don't know, a couple months to like actually mix a record. Where now a kid can mix a record. He's like 11 years old. I'm like doing, behind the back juggles and shit. Like it took me a couple months. And like I've taught at a DJ school. I teach kids how to do this shit in like 3 weeks. Like if you're not doing it, if you don't graduate after 6 weeks and you're not mixing records perfectly, like you didn't fail. I failed.
For real.
Yeah. So I think I needed something to do. I needed something to do, right? And I loved it. I loved being part of this like subculture that like, one, it was like cool.
Yeah.
But two, I just got to like, that's what I wanted to learn. Like I said, it wasn't awesome in school because I wasn't interested in learning about that. Like going to history class wasn't that, like I didn't care about it. But then learning about history through music and then now through spirits and all this stuff, like when you drink a glass of wine, like that's a geography and history in that glass. And so now, you know, that started me on the path to like really wanting to understand like, okay, getting a hip hop record. And then like reading the credits, like who produced this? Oh, contains a sample of. What's that? What's a sample of? You know?
So you're curious.
I was just curious. I started just wanted to. That was what I was reading. And I was reading, you know, record sleeves instead of, you know, whatever. Mark Twain, which may not have been the right move, but that's what I was. You know, I was more interested in. I
mean, it was your move.
Yeah. So. I just got deeper and deeper and deeper, and I just kept going deeper into that rabbit hole. Yeah. And, you know, I really started to really fell in love with hip hop music, you know, and wanted to start to like become part of that more than just like learning and getting deeper and learning about it. I wanted to start like making it. And I was like, oh, I want to know how to do this and make it, you know? So after my 1 year in New York, I left. My buddy John left.
Arizona?
Arizona. Thank you. 1 year at U of A was gone. It was more than enough. I couldn't. My buddy John left after one semester.
Oh, wow.
He was gone. He couldn't take it. And we were in the same. We were just like, this place sucks.
Wild.
Yeah. And so I finished the year, came back to Los Angeles, and really missed playing baseball. Like, really missed it. You know, I thought about like trying to try out for the team at U of A. Like I wasn't approached by them. Like that's a massive D1 school.
Yeah.
Like, let's keep it real. I wasn't that good.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, I didn't even try out. I was just like, I'm just here to do something different. But when I came back that summer,
you had that itch.
I had that itch. I missed playing ball. And so I was fortunate to be able to play on what's called a scout league team. Scout league team is the team below the minor leagues. Right. So I was invited and through somehow was playing for the scout league team for the Dodgers here.
Wow.
Like the lower below the minor league team.
Yeah.
And a buddy of mine on that team, dude named Kevin, I don't remember his last name, but I remember he played second base and he and I just like kind of became buddies. And he's like, oh, where do you play? What are you doing? I was like, yeah, I'm at U of A, but I'm not playing ball there. Like, I'm trying to just come back to like, I don't really want to be there anymore. He's like, oh, well, you know, if you're not working with a team right now, you should come you can come work out with us. He was playing ball at like a junior college in the Valley, at Valley College. He's like, just come work out with us. I'm sure coach would let you just kind of swing the bat and, you know, whatever, work out with us. I was like, okay, that sounds cool. So I went and started working out with the team over at Valley. And at the end of the summer, coach was like, "Oh, so what's your plan? Are you going back to Arizona? Like, are you going to stay in Los Angeles? Like, what are you going to do?" I was like, honestly, I don't know. Like, I don't want to go back to Arizona. I want to stay here in LA. But I mean, I'm not going to not go to college. Like in my mind, like you graduate high school and you go to college. Yeah, like, that's what you do. Yeah. There is no other, like you. That's what you do.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Well, why don't you just come to school here and you can play ball for us?" And I was like, "That sounds great." So I left Arizona and I transferred to Valley College here.
Was there a convo with your parents, or like was it?
Yeah, they were. Like I said, they were supportive of it.
Word.
Like you miss playing baseball. You want to play baseball? Okay.
Awesome.
You know, wow.
Awesome.
They knew how unhappy I was. How unhappy I was in Arizona.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
I mean, it may have been more in depth than that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't necessarily remember all of that, but
for
like,
sure,
I have my whole life. I have their blessing, right? And so I started playing ball at Valley, and it just turns out, right, just as the world has it, Valley College had one of the best jazz programs in the country. The jazz program there is insane. The teacher named Mike Julian. I want to just thank Mike Julian right now.
Shout out
Mike Julian.
What up, baby?
What it do, boy?
That guy changed everything. Because at this time, like I had been DJing now for like a year. So I get home from Arizona, right? I don't have decks anymore because John had the decks. And I got like half a crate of records and I got that itch. So I had my dad drive me. Like I didn't have a car.
And shout out to Kevin, no last name, the second baseman.
Kevin.
Yeah.
Because like you wouldn't be at Valley College if...
Right. Some dude named Kevin. I don't know.
That's fucking wild,
All
bro.
these things, right? Yeah, and I went to downtown and bought the like Gemini DJ starter pack. You know, like we all know what that is.
Yeah, straight the fuck
because
up.
I was like, I don't know, this one costs like $350 for everything. I can make that happen.
Yeah,
you know. And I was just like, ding, ding, ding. Okay, I got turntables now.
Yeah.
Sweet. I just like, I had that. I could scratch that itch.
Yeah.
But I also really miss playing baseball. Right. So now I'm going playing baseball. I'm going to Valley. And at Valley, it turns out that they have these courses that's like, the actual name of the course was like intro to sound or something like that. Like,
Word.
And it was like basically a course in like frequency. Like it was nerd level. And I was like, oh, this is fucking cool. Like I totally nerded out on that. It was like sound reinforcement, sound development, something.
Yeah.
And it was like how, because it was like all based around jazz, and it was like, how do you position microphones to record like a jazz ensemble to properly record them in like a large space? And then how does that like frequency affect, how does it go into the microphone? And then like learning about like technically like audio engineering essentially.
Yeah.
And that in my mind was like the coolest shit I had ever seen. I was like, this is the like science class I wish I always had.
Sounds
wild.
Sounds so boring.
That's wild.
To most though, you know what I mean?
To most, that's super boring. It's like you're just plugging things in.
That sounds fucking lit to me though.
I thought it was the coolest shit ever. Like and as I go into my career, like Joe knows, like I was always into like editing and like that that was my shit.
Yeah, no, it's a super deep world too.
Yeah.
You know, especially when you understand that science behind it, like just the way sound waves work, vibrations work. It gets super deep into that realm. Yeah, it's insane.
So I got to like cut my teeth learning about recording studios, recording jazz. And that's like everything 100% live, right?
Yeah.
There's no synths. There's no MPC. There's no drum machines. Like, everything is happening right now, and you got to capture that perfectly. And so I got to learn not only about like that music side of it and capturing that music in that moment, but then like how the backside of it in the studio works, and me being into DJing and like the whole like technical side of it. That's what like made sense to me, and I loved it. And so I was playing baseball. Everything's fine, whatever. Start taking these like audio engineering classes, and then like these jazz classes, and then like getting deeper and deeper into like not only learning about jazz, but how to record real music.
Yeah.
You know, and how to mix real music. And then still DJing here and there, and the DJing starting to take off, and I'm starting to like get good at it, and like slowly doing one or two little parties. And like I remember getting shit on at parties, like just it was bad. It was hard. It was hard, man. Like
really?
I was sucked at first, you know?
Yeah.
I remember my brother like talked some people into like hiring me for a party, and I had to like bring my dad's like home stereo little like shitty speakers, and like the room was really big and the speakers weren't loud enough, so I tried to turn it up and I blew the speakers.
Oh my
and then
God.
like I still couldn't mix real well, but I was super into this underground music, but they just wanted to hear like what was on whatever station. And it was just awful.
You weren't playing to your audience there.
It was
you were
awful.
just
He's trying to create like room D at the rave. Yeah.
Like it was just awful. It was awful, and it was like
The one that there's like four people. Yeah, there's like four people in there, and they're just like dancing like crazy, and the music is loud.
Yeah, I mean it sucked. I remember. I'll never forget this. Some dude. There was like a 2-day some party for something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget. Someone came up to me and was like, "Oh man," he like fronted, and he was like, "Are you doing the party tomorrow too?" I was like, "No, they got some other dude." He's like, "Oh, thank God, you fucking suck."
No way.
Run that back.
So at this party, the like my first like party that I did, right, with my dad's speakers that blew, and I'm like horribly mixing records that no one gives a fuck about. And the most like pop thing I had was like Slick Rick, you know, and this dude comes up to me like fronting like he was like cool. He was like, "Oh man, are you gonna be doing the party?" It was a 2-day thing. He's like, "Are you doing the party tomorrow too?" And I was like, "Oh no, they got another DJ to do the second day or whatever." And he's like, "Oh, thank God, you fucking suck." Oh, that I mean, I still remember it, right?
Yeah.
Like, that hurt. That hurts.
Yeah, for
You know?
sure.
Someone to tell you to your face that you fucking suck. That's like your art.
Let me ask you this: at that party, and like also knowing like you weren't as equipped, but it was a shot, right?
Yeah.
What's going through your head there? Because like even as a DJ, right? You're literally you're seeing this happen in front of you. Like you're spinning records. You're not just like, and you don't have Serato at this point where you're just like looking at the screen, like playing your records. Like you're feeling it out. You're realizing the audience is kind of like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
What's going through your head right there?
I'm like, I was mostly freaking out about the speaker because everyone's running up and like, it's not loud enough, it's not loud enough. Something that's going like, you know, like I didn't know. Plus, I'm like, don't really know how to mix that well.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't know if they can tell. I can tell. They can't hear it. Hopefully, they just don't hear it. Like, I'm such a cerebral person, and we'll get to that. Like, I'm like a uber perfectionist.
Yeah.
And so that allowed me to kind of like really start getting down there. I was like, all right, fuck that. Like, every time I do this now, this shit's gonna be fucking perfect.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be perfect from that point on. Like, anytime I mix a record, anytime I did anything, like it was gonna be absolutely spot on. Like, I'm not just gonna half-ass it, you know. And that, like I said, I was. You know,
do you
18
feel like
years
that
old,
was a
and I remember
blessing?
that. I guess. I mean, you know, everyone needs to get put in their place once in a while.
Oof.
Right?
Damn right.
I got put in my place. Not that I thought I was the shit, because I certainly didn't. Like, I'm a humble dude, period. But at that moment, I was just like some 18-year-old kid, just like trying to get a party cracking.
But you were going to tighten up a lot quicker.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like I knew. I was like, oh, I can't just like do it.
Yeah.
You know? But so all that was going on. And I'm like still trying to have this baseball thing going, still like starting to get more into DJing, and then I ended up getting in a car accident, which like effectively ended baseball forever.
Really?
What happened with that?
So I was in. It was actually not too far from here. It was like Overland-ish.
What the fuck happened?
So I was in the back seat of my buddy's car, so behind the driver, right? So we're driving, we go to turn right, and this car behind us just slams right into us right here. So as we're turning, so basically like I'm sitting at like right at the point of contact. Underage drunk driver from out of state. Fast forward, nothing happened to her. Nothing. She got like a slap on the wrist. So essentially, look, let's keep it real. I wasn't going to be pro baseball. I wasn't playing for the Dodgers.
Word.
It wasn't going to happen. But I was still effectively playing baseball and loving it in college. Like, I loved it. You know, I wasn't playing D1.
Yeah.
I'm not playing for the Dodgers,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
loved playing baseball, and
Yeah.
I was continuing to do that. So the way that your hips sit when you're a normal human, right? Your hips sit like this, right? This is like your pelvis. Your spine is here. And there's a tendon that connects your spine to your pelvis, right?
Okay.
Right here. So instead of my hips sitting like this, mine sit like that.
Oh,
They're
forward.
like pushed forward.
Permanently.
All the time. So what's being done by that is that tendon that connects my spine to my pelvis is constantly being stretched. It's like a rubber band. It's just like this all the time. It didn't snap, so it can't be repaired.
Oh, shit.
It's just
It's
being
it's
pulled all
like
the time.
limbo.
It's just like this all the time. Right? You can't swing a bat without your hips, right?
Holy
Yeah.
fuck, no.
That's everything.
Baseball's all hips lightweight.
100%. So I was like, all right, done.
Fuck.
Like I said, baseball wasn't going to pay my bills. But I loved it. That's why everything I did.
It was your fun.
That was my fun. That was my sports. But the good thing out of that was trying to do sports and music at the same time is pretty much impossible. Trying to do one of those things all the time is pretty much impossible.
Yeah, exactly.
So I took it as like, okay, that's fine. I was done with, I'm done with baseball.
Yeah.
Great. I'll rehabilitate myself. I'll be fine. I'll be strong. I'm going to jump into this music thing. Like, go for it. And so that got me like real motivated to just really go into music. And that sounds like back in LA, back with my people, like other friends of mine are starting to get into this like underground counterculture. Friends of mine know like, oh, this dude's starting to rap. This dude's starting to DJ. Like I'm starting to like link up with people and like make a network here. And this is like in, 2000, 2001, like real early 2000s. Yeah. And I really wanted to start learning how to like make beats. Like that was like next step. Like I was DJing good now. Like I got it. Like I said, it didn't take me that long. Yeah. Like I busted my ass. I was in my parents' garage every single day, practicing every day without fail, every day in their garage. First, it started in their living room, and then they were like, "No, it's not happening." Yeah. My dad will clear out the garage, some space in the garage. You go on outside. Yeah. So I was in there every day, every day, without doubt, 4 hours a day, easy. My buddy Scott Levine, was also really into hip hop music, and his parents were super into music. His parents are both like musicians and all that, and have a bunch of bands. They got him an MPC.
Oh wow!
For I don't know, it was his birthday or Christmas or whatever. I don't know. They just had it around, but he had this MPC, and he's a good MC. He was always into rapping, and he always wanted to be an MC. And so he didn't have anybody that he could work with, so he was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna like learn to make my own beats, and I can just like make music on my own." Yeah. And he didn't really like get into that technical side of like programming. So he and I struck up a deal. He was like, "Yo, you can have my MPC, but any beats that you make, I get to use." I was like, "Sweet,
easy,
great." Yeah. So that's how I got my hands on an MP.
Wow.
And that was,
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
I had no clue.
And then like I didn't have there was nothing. There was just like a turntable and an MPC. And that was it with like 16 seconds of sampling. And that was it. Every single sound, came from a record and that kind of vibe. Mm-hmm. Not because like that's what's cool, because like that's just all it was.
Yeah, 100%.
And so long story short is like, that got me into like wanting to learn how to make beats. And then plus I was in school to really learn how to engineer. And then that really made me want to learn how to like produce and like make it sound great.
Which is a whole nother art in itself.
And then like, okay, well now I understand. I've been like working with these live bands, and then I've been like doing this sampling, and okay, maybe I can start putting these things together, and then starting like to record and produce live bands, and then like sampling, why don't you just like, instead of me sampling this bass line, why don't you just play bass, or why don't you just play piano? Yep. And then like building all that, so then like all of those things started to kind of just spiral into becoming like a producer.
It's just very organic.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is that since you're not, it's interesting being a producer and not being a traditional musician, and actually,
and I do think that held me back, honestly, because nowadays like a producer is just like someone who just like makes everything.
You think it held you back?
I think it held me back in certain aspects.
Oh, interesting.
In certain aspects. In some ways, not to cut you off, and you can totally finish your thought. It gave me like a fresh perspective, as opposed to someone who's just like a piano player who's just gonna like program drums on top of it.
Right.
I was like getting inspiration from records. I would hear a sound on a record, and I would take that sound, and then I would want to like create on top of that sound, and that's where it was like found art, if you will, right? Sampling is like the art of stealing. It's like, oh, I'm gonna take this and this and this, but that kind of set me up. Fast forward to now to do what I'm doing now,
right?
Where it's like a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and a little bit of this, and all these things kind of come together, And so I didn't know it at the time, obviously, but all of these things like had one to do with the other, with the other, with the other.
Yeah, I mean, the art of the MPC, I mean, it's all sample based, and you being a DJ, understanding where those sounds need to be placed. But it's pretty cool that it was an organic process to become a producer, and now you're learning about instrumentation, but not as a musician. You're learning about placement of songs. You're learning about sound. All these things that extend way farther than actually being a musician. Yeah. And that's why a lot of musicians can't make great records. And that's why the producer role is such a necessary role in that record making process.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about that all the time, and I strongly believe in that. Like the idea of like I just said, like the idea of like quote unquote producer now means just like someone who makes music.
Sure.
Where before, if you're producing the record, you don't play shit. You produce what everything that said. There's someone that writes the music. There's someone that plays the bass. There's someone that plays the piano. Someone plays the drums. Someone sings. Someone's recording it. Someone's holding everything together.
Yeah.
Right. And like going off what you were saying, it's about people. And now that I really look back on it, it was me just wanting to work with people and wanting to like hold people together. And I think that's what really drove me to go, instead of just like, I mean, I'll never forget you always telling me this, like, you should just do you. Mm-hmm. Just go be Matter, right? But I always loved playing with bands.
Let me ask you this. What made you say that then? Can you recall that?
Well, that was a little later.
That was definitely later.
Yeah, way
But
later.
like, I loved the idea of bands. I grew up listening to bands. I learned by listening to jazz, right? And be recording jazz.
Yeah.
And so it was like, well, there's not one person. I mean, yeah, you can just play piano and, you know, be whatever, Art Tatum, but like,
right.
It's not, I love the idea of everyone being together and like everyone like on stage creating this sound together. Like, yeah, look, I got paid by playing other people's records, which still think is silly to this day. But when it came to that sort of whole entity, I just love that. I love the idea of all of these different people playing something together to like give this product to sound, this art, this whatever you want to call it, to the world.
Yeah.
And so that's what really I loved about wanting to become a producer, was like, I can take all of this and put it together. And even to this day, people ask me like, oh, you were in music, so what instrument do you play? And it's like, well, I don't really play any instruments. I can play bass a little bit. I can play pianos a little bit. I can play drums a little bit. Like if I needed to like if I had an idea, I could like kind of thumb my way through it. But my best instrument was the studio. Yeah. You know? Or, I mean, digitally, like the computer. Right? Like that was my best instrument. The turntable is my best instrument.
Yeah,
But you say that to someone, they're like, no,
it's not traditional.
That's not what is that? That's
and a lot of the time now it is that laptop is the best instrument. That's what it is. That's the standard now. Yeah. You know, no one's playing fucking guitar. You know, not like it was, you know.
But I mean, Deep Pro Audio has outsold guitars for the last 20 years?
Oh yeah,
15 years.
Yeah, no question. So, did you at this point, you know, as you're still at Valley?
I'm still at Valley at this point.
Are you thinking about like an actual career of like what are you gonna actually do, or are you just indulged in music?
No, I'm totally indulged in it. Totally indulged.
So you're not even thinking about like career at this point, or like, oh, this is my trajectory, or
a little bit. I mean, a little bit. I started playing with these guys that were in the jazz band, the more like experimental guys that were in the jazz band, and I became part of their like experimental band. And it was this guy named George Freeze, super talented dude who played keys. He played like piano and key bass. A guy named Aki who played guitar. And a guy named Matt who played drums. And they had like a little trio that was making sort of like experimental, sort of like blues funk, like dirty blues funk.
Yeah.
And they let me just kind of like sit in with them. And I was like, yo, I got a turntable and this sampler, but I want to like jam with you guys. And they were like, that sounds weird. That's cool. So I started like playing in this blues band, essentially, for lack of a better, it was like blues funk. It was like porn music. It was porn music. I mean, we named the band the Porn Pit Orchestra. Like our vision was like
respect.
Yeah. The literally the whole vision of the band was like if porn was on stage like a play, we'd be the band in the pit. So we were the Porn Pit Orchestra.
I fucking feel you.
Yeah. And that's the kind of music they were into. I was like, yo, what if I was I was like, what if the turntables was the singer? And so like I started getting these sample records with like women moaning and like weird phrases, and I would just like scratch girls moaning and like over this like bonking, like dirty ass blues funk porn music. And then like without exaggerating, I started sampling like pornos and like putting them on my drum machine, and I would have like little phrases and like words and like sounds from porn on my drum machine, and I would trigger them, and I was essentially the vocalist in the band triggering porno.
That's awesome, dude.
That's fucking lit.
And that was like my introduction into playing with a band. But by playing in that band, I had to like learn how to play in a band. I was an instrument in the band. Without like, George gave me charts. Like I was reading percussion charts. Like I was scratching in certain turntable, for all intents and purposes, is a percussion instrument.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So he would give me charts as to like, not necessarily my phrasing, but like when I was in and when I was out, and we were all reading charts like we were a fucking jazz band. You know, because that's where their brains came from. So I was getting a crash course in like, I wasn't reading notes, but I was, reading rhythm charts essentially, and learning how to not play, right? Learning how to listen, how to play an instrument and listen, right? Because that's the hardest thing to do is not play. Yeah. Because every DJ, every guitar player just wants to be like, put their fucking dick out, right?
For real though.
No, I learned early on that like sometimes the best note is no note.
It's no note.
Wild.
Yeah, I mean it's all about, it's not, and coming as a bass player, it's not like how many notes you play or it's what you play and when you play it. And not playing is the exact same as playing. Like not playing a note holds the exact same actually like space as playing a note. And it becomes part of your whole thing. So it's
But like imagine that. So it's like I'm on like the beginning of this like turntable DJ fringe here in California, right? In the like early 2000s, late 90s. Like not that I'm the first. People are definitely doing it, but that's like right when it's starting to take off. Like shit's not really popping yet.
Yeah.
But instead of just like playing booty music in the club, it's like, yo, I'm gonna go scratch porno records with this jazz band. Like that's where my head was, and that's what was more interesting to me. Like, had I thought about it from a career perspective, if I had just gone and played records in the club, I'd be probably fucking Steve Aokiing all over the world. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that would have been the smarter choice. I don't know, but I liked doing what I was doing. I was expressing myself. I was creating art in my mind. Like I got to play in a band. I thought that was dope. Yeah. Like I got to play turntables in a band. When I would play percussion and shakers and all these kind of things, like, and I was essentially a percussionist. Yeah. But my main instrument was like this drum machine where I could trigger all kinds of weird samples from wherever. Yeah. And then just like scratch. And so that like really taught me how to like be an instrument. Yeah. And then understand how all these other instruments are working. And that really allowed me to like become a real connoisseur of music and understand how people are playing music and how bands are working. And that's just where my passion lied. And I think that's why I always wanted to work with bands, is because of that band that I started playing with when I was at Valley.
Yeah. 100%, man. I mean, playing with a band and just also the element of performance and on the spot. Yeah. You don't have time to like be perfect, right? Like most of the time you deal with like fucking up, of not being perfect, and that on the fly, that improvisation, that like reactionary muscle. It's like that fast twitch muscle. Yeah. That's what
different
you're
every
too.
time. And that's what's so amazing.
When you're in a studio, you could do 100 takes to get it right. Yeah. When you're live, as soon as you get it wrong, the moment already passed. Yeah. Like you're not running it back. Like it passed, and you better just like get back on the train.
Yeah. You do it 2 more times, and it's like, I meant to do that shit.
Yeah. Just hope like everyone like looks at you for a second. You're like, no, I'm good now.
For real though,
dude. I remember we have a recording of this. We did a show. It was like at the Knitting Factory, and like I just come in with this like sliding bass line to this one note, and it's like how we open the show, and I get to it, and it's the wrong note, and I'm just like, I know it is, and I'm playing it. I'm like, this is the wrong note. But if I move it, it's gonna sound even worse.
Yeah, then everyone else knows.
Because they're like, oh, you went from the wrong to the right. So like, I just rocked that wrong note. I was like, God, please move. And then finally, the part in the song changed, but it sounded so terrible. But it's like sometimes in those moments, it's how you like recover. And I always value that part of playing in bands, and it's kind of an unspoken part of like, there's a performance aspect where you got to like feel dope, look dope, and entertain. Yeah. But then there's all those imperfections that you also have to be a perfect player, and you have to play correctly. there was a time I was a horribly sloppy player, you know, and you have to tighten that shit right up.
Yeah, you gotta be tight to be sloppy.
Ooh. Straight the fuck up. You gotta be tight to be sloppy.
Yeah, you gotta talk to Parliament about that.
Drop
shit.
a fucking gem on them, bro. Drop a bomb on them.
Yeah, I mean, like James Brown Parliament. That's like the ultimate, right? So tight, so sloppy.
Yeah,
just because they can be.
Yeah,
it's so true. That greasy ass funk.
Where'd that lead you?
So yeah, I mean, to fast forward a little bit, like I'm doing all this weird band stuff. I stay at Valley for 2 years. I played the first year, second year I got injured, finished that year, knew that I wanted to like graduate from a lack of a better word, real college. So I transferred to Loyola Marymount.
Word.
To get my degree because, other than like Loyola and USC are definitely the two best like music schools in LA.
Yeah.
SC number one for sure.
Yeah.
But a lot of people sleep on the music program and the film program at Loyola. And I was super into film as well. And the film and music program were like very intertwined. So I transferred to LMU and was like DJing hard at this point, making beats. Like I was like deep in it, like all my recording classes. So I actually applied to Loyola Marymount to their music program 2 semesters before I actually got in. I applied and got denied. They say, hey, this is a 4-year program. We don't allow people to come in midway. You start as a freshman and you end as a senior. Like this is a whole spectrum.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, fuck that.
Yeah.
I was like, that can't be right. I was like, I like persisted, wrote letters, went to the college, and I was like, hey man, like, give me a test. Like I'll out-test all of these motherfuckers in your class. I was like, the knowledge that I gained from Valley, plus just all the shit that I'm doing on my own. Yeah. I was like, I bet you I can just punk anybody in your class. And I didn't say that to the teacher, but I was like, well, can I test into it? Like, let me do something to get into it.
You wanted it bad enough to try and like solve a problem.
Yeah. So I did. And I got in.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was the first person to ever transfer into the music program at LMU, and now they allow it.
Lit.
Yeah,
and now they allow it.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
You setting trends, baby.
And then I got to that class, and I'm a humble dude. I was punking everybody in that class.
I respect that
because of Mike Julian. We're going back to Mike Julian because of that jazz upbringing,
Yeah.
And then they were just starting to get into like digital music, and I was already like, murdering the MP at that point, and like all on the computer, But that program really taught me how to work in like the studios there were beautiful. Studios at Valley, it's a fucking junior college. Yeah. Like, right? Like I was recording on DAT. Like that shit's old. Like that's like barely digital.
What's that?
Yeah, exactly. Literally, like what's that? And so that really taught me how to like use beautiful stuff. So I'm at LMU, and that's when I ran into Carl.
Okay.
So my buddy Carl, he and I grew up playing baseball together. We've known each other since we were like 11. Grew up playing Little League. Also went to Beverly, and he was in a band at the time. And he and I just because I was a couple years older than him when I left and went to Arizona. Like I just didn't see him anymore.
Yeah.
And then we ran into each other on campus and started talking. I was like, he's like, oh yeah, I'm making music. I'm in this band. I was like, oh shit, I'm in the recording program. Part of I transferred the second half of my junior year. So I went there for 3 semesters, second half of junior year, and then my 2 senior year. Our like thesis was to find a band and record it and produce, engineer 3 songs from some random band that you had to find. So when I ran into Carl and I was like, yo, I got to do this project. You want some free recording?
Done.
He was like, fuck yeah.
Easy.
So I recorded Carl's band and like produced 3 songs for them. And then he and I hit it off. And then he and I started writing music together, and that's how My Luscious happened.
Oh shit. That's how it happened.
Yeah.
Cause I thought it happened after when we were with Noah.
No, it was before.
It was before.
Yeah.
Holy shit. So that was the early days of it.
Yeah, it was right before that. I still don't remember how I got brought into Noah and Replay. Because it was Noah and Replay.
Yeah. And Replay couldn't do shows.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
And so we needed someone to do shows.
Yeah.
And then we knew that we were playing ball with you guys one day. I actually remember it perfectly.
Yeah, I don't remember this.
And we were playing ball at Beverly on the courts. And you and I had met. And
I knew Noah because I knew Ryan and Adam.
But it was also during a time where everyone was playing basketball.
Yeah.
And I went to go play with Noah, and you were there, and like Ian was there, and all those guys.
Yeah.
And that's when I met you. And I'm pretty sure this was the moment where it was like, yeah, you're like, oh yeah, I DJ. Oh, dope. And Noah and I were looking for someone to DJ shows, and like, yeah, come. And I think you jammed with us, and at
like at his parents' house.
Yeah, it started off at his parents' house.
Yeah.
So
I remember that. I remember that day.
Yeah.
In the like TV room.
Yeah, in the TV room.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's when it kind of began. And Nushi now enters Raushi.
Yeah, now enter Joe Roush into the music scene.
Joe Roush, welcome.
So during that time, I had just moved back from. I hadn't even moved back yet. I was like living in New York, and I had come back during summertime. And during that time, Noah was doing music.
I remember you were like torn about coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Shout out to Noah King.
Shout out to Noah King.
Noah King was rapping.
Shout out to Carl Stober.
Shout out to Carl Stober, Mudlushes. Shout out to Tyrone's Jacket.
Yeah, they're doing
We see
it,
you.
right?
We see you guys. Love it. All
Shout
love.
out to Ryan.
Shout out to Ryan. Shout out to the whole crew. So I'd come back and Noah and I were like really close throughout high school.
Shout out to Pliz.
Plizzy Pliz. We're close throughout high school, and I came back and he was rapping. I was like, oh yeah, I was always in a band. I was in a band throughout high school, all that shit. And Noah actually, like, that's how we connected too. So I come back and he's like, yeah, I was like, yeah, let's vibe, let's jam. He was making records with Replay. I came in and like dropped some bass on those tracks, and we all just started kind of writing music together. I started playing bass on these tracks that Replay had, and Noah got some like opportunities to perform. And we're like, yo, let's perform this. I could, Replay could DJ, I could play live bass, and Noah was the MC. And that's kind of how it was Noah's thing. We were just kind of like the supporting dudes.
For sure.
And so he was like this rapper, and Replay, when he couldn't do a couple shows, that's when we looked for someone, and that's when we met and pulled you into that.
I mean, I always thought that was such like a great lineup for a hip hop group. It was like DJ, MC, and live bass. I always just thought that was dope. Yeah,
Nushi, do you even know about that? Like before New Kingdom, I was in this group with Noah. It was just yeah. We were just this 3-piece group called. It was Noah King and the Renegade Soldiers.
Yes, I did.
that corny ass fucking name. That corny ass fucking name.
Yeah, Replay was the original, and then Replay left,
at the time,
and I joined.
At the time, you kind of love it. Eric Delos Prados is fucking crying right now. So
I love how you like how that registered later.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, Replay that, and then I joined. I was like, huh?
Yeah, and then because Replay couldn't do Replay was actually like an active producer doing
he was
making records
in the studio.
Yeah, so he's like,
and
yo,
that's what he cared about.
And we were trying to do shows, and he's like, yo, we need someone more regularly to come, and that's when we got Matter. Wow. And so now it was Matter, myself, and Noah, and we started to push this thing, and it started to create traction, and that was actually the crazy part where. We started to make some noise throughout LA and started to play some pretty big shows. And like opening up for like just rappers.
Yeah.
Just tons and tons of rappers.
How the fuck was that for y'all?
It was really unexpected. And like, how was it for you?
I mean, it was like there was a lot of people talking about it. And there's a lot of people coming to the shows. And like it was starting to become a thing.
It was starting. Yeah, it was starting to
I don't think any of us had our head on straight. Definitely not Noah.
No, I mean,
but like, and we didn't realize how to properly take advantage of it. No. I still think that could have been way more than it was.
I think so too.
But it at the time, I don't think we realized how to properly capitalize on it.
No, it was kind of moving very quickly, and it had become something. And
how old were y'all?
23. I was 23.
Yeah, so I was like 24, 25.
Yeah. Or no, I was probably younger. I was probably more like 22. Yeah. 22 when I probably started it. Yeah, exactly. Actually, it was before that because I had my 22nd birthday during that time. I remember because we were doing shows at like 14 Below and stuff. But then we started to do these bigger shows.
So what year is that? Like 04, 05?
Yeah, something like that. And we started doing bigger shows. We started playing the El Rey. We started playing like, House of Blues. We started doing these kind of like bigger shows in the crowd.
Key Club, dude.
When it was still
Key Club.
When it was lit.
Yeah. And opening up for like big acts. And Noah was getting around like as a rapper. Mm-hmm. And this whole thing, we just had this like really electric show, similar to like what transpired into New Kingdom, but it was like
the energy was crazy in that show.
The energy was nuts, and it was.
That it's crazy what natural talent can get you and the limitations of it.
Very true. And this was hip hop. It was just like rap, and we were just banging these shows. And that's when you and I really started to connect on a music level because you're like, yo, I produce. And then we started making records together and we're like, oh, we all like the same shit.
I mean, Replay was doing the Renegade Soldier stuff, but you and I started just writing other stuff.
Yeah, a bunch of other stuff. And that was a wild time.
And then I brought you into what I was writing with Carl.
And then, so Matter had this band with Carl. And what's crazy now, we're saying like now Carl and Noah have a group, Tyrone's Jacket, which is doing very well, I hear and I see. So shout out. Carl had this band, My Luscious, which was like this indie. I don't even know how to describe it.
It was everything,
all over the place. Like
both he and I had such like diverse taste, and it was just allowed us to do everything. It was like it was punk, it was reggae, it was ska, it was hip hop, it was like alt rock. It was just like,
and that was wild too.
Everything was. I mean, yeah, we had like an '80s electro.
I mean, there were times where we were doing shows together. So you and I would be on the stage for two shows the whole time,
and then I DJ after.
Yeah, so it would be like Mud Luscious, Noah King, and the Renegade Soldiers, and then DJ, and like Matt and I would be on the stage the entire fucking time rocking. And like we would do costume changes,
and just change aliases. Yeah.
Like I would.
You don't know about this dude's alias game.
Yeah,
he's got the strongest alias game.
If we don't know about it,
I just had a million aliases that we go by. We still do. We have so many different projects.
You don't know about Sweet 16 though.
Sweet 16. You don't know about Check One.
Yo,
Daryl Cranberry.
You don't know about Daryl Cranberry.
Daryl Cranberry.
You don't know about that either.
Fuck.
I'm all over the place.
Daryl fucking Cranberry,
it's the
though.
Best name ever.
That's our secret shit that's about to blow up.
Yeah,
too. But that's another topic. That's another topic.
That's where you laugh all day.
But that was a crazy time, and it was really in that like L.A. We were starting to get into that music scene, and that's when like you and I was on the scene too. Because what was that, like 2005?
2008 to.
Okay.
Actually, it was like 2007 probably.
Okay, so this extended through that, and then.
No, but you know what? You and I was a group like during that time. Also.
Yeah.
But when I came on with them, it was 09, 010.
Yeah.
So they had definitely picked up a lot of steam by that point.
They were together for like 8 years. It was Rapture Camp, and then.
Man, we did these wild shows. We did this thing where like we did a public broadcast system show. Remember that? The PBS thing? Like where we drove down to San Diego and
oh yeah.
Nushi. We played this thing where like we went on TV and played this song.
I forgot about
Remember that?
Yeah.
Oh man.
That was bad.
It was so bad. We did a lot of really bad things. Oh, so bad.
Like, I thought that was gonna be like such a
No,
fucking glorious.
no.
moment.
Here's the thing. So we
Played
drive
on TV. It was lit. Like we played on TV.
No. It was this. It was PBS. It was like the public channel,
God,
like
that was bad.
the channel in between 2 and 3. That channel.
Fucking PBS can be lit.
Where you can like maybe see a nipple. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the public access. Sorry, that's what it is. Public access.
Played on TV. Pause.
No, it was terrible.
That was bad.
I had honestly forgotten about that.
Forgotten
about
it's
it.
that type of repressed fucking memory.
Yeah.
I don't remember when that dude told me that I fucking sucked, but I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was a repressed one. So for you though, at this time, like, you know, we were super connected, and I always admired you a lot as a DJ, and I felt like your DJing. And you had your DJing in Noah King, and you had your production in Mudlushes. What was that like for you evolving into a real person into this music scene?
I mean, I kind of enjoyed being that person that like kind of brought everyone together. I feel like I brought all of those crews together.
Yeah.
Even, I mean, technically Noah and Tunji met, you know, with that crew, but then like bringing in Malcolm, who brought in, you know, Naive, and then like part of that family, and then like with you, and then with Carl, and then like
And this was the thing
putting
too.
all these,
What do you think
all
it
these
was
things
about
together.
like your ability and also your enjoyment of creating an experience? Because like you're talking a lot about creating experiences within your world. You have your function, you do what you do well, but like you're talking about the enjoyment of putting things together far more than the craft itself.
That, I mean, now that's like pretty fucking on point. Now that I look back on it, that's what it was. Like it was always, of course, about the music, and I got to express myself differently through different projects.
Yeah.
You know? But it was just this love of like togetherness. Right?
I respect that.
Where it's like, hey, what if we all did this together? We could all put on this massive event together. We could put out records together. We could, who knows what together.
Yeah.
Some of those things materialized. A lot of them didn't materialize, you know?
And I connect with that. And the reason I bring that up, bro, is because like that was my ethos in this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't a music guy, but like people, I love people. And naturally, people are the parts in this little play. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that's, you know, eventually what took me out of music, because it wasn't about that anymore. Like if we fast forward a little bit, like I never became this like wildly massive popular DJ.
Word.
But I got to live off of my art, right? Mm-hmm. Which
is very important.
Which is amazing.
A lot of people don't.
Which is the greatest feeling ever.
Respect. Yeah.
To get paid to make art.
Yes.
But as it started to progress and I started to get and take on more projects and bigger projects and do these kind of things, it was less about like just being Matt Seigel, who just wants to like
bring everyone
together. I mean, I got to do a project where I got to bring my dad in and let my dad play bass.
That's fucking lit. That had to be a glorious fucking moment.
It was the most amazing, the Love and Dancing thing. My dad got to play bass on it. I got to bring in all my homies.
Yo.
And everyone got to play for a film score for a movie. And I was like, I got hired to do a number of songs for this film and then for the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And I got free reign to just like bring in my own musicians.
I remember I got some royalties from that for a little bit.
I still get checks from that shit.
I respect that.
Shout out to the first royalties.
Yeah.
But that was your playground.
That was my playground. And so it was like that kind of thing where it's like, all right, this, like, I remember bringing everybody into a room in the back, in the, like, the little, like, food area of this recording, Cherokee Studios. Rest in peace, Cherokee. That was, like, the most wonderful studio. The classic recording studio in Fairfax. That was like one of the last records that ever got made there.
Wild.
I mean, that, like, Cherokee Studios, you know, man, like, that's, like, a fucking epic place. But I remember bringing everybody in there, and I was like, hey, guys, look, this is the deal. Like, we're going to write a bunch of songs for this movie. They're going to bring in all these other people to, like, potentially sing on it or do these other things. But, like, I want to make sure that we all write this music because we need to get all that writing.
Yeah.
And like I was on that shit then.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Pub, bro.
And I made sure everybody wrote that music. Even when we worked with Tatiana, I made sure Tunji wrote that track. And like,
oh yeah, were you Tatiana Ali?
Wild.
they brought her in to sing on some of these tracks, and then like she and I hit it off.
I would have never thought about that again.
Yeah,
And
she
Young
and I hit it
Tons.
off.
Oh, and Young Yunge, man.
Dude,
This is
and
fucking history.
Oh,
dog.
this is like
goes
this
so
is like
far
even
back.
like before. This is
Yeah.
like prehistoric.
This is before he was on Orange Cut. Like this is.
Oh,
way
Yeah.
before.
way before Oren. This was light years before.
Bro, don't make this Persian dude battle these two Caucasians right now. What's up?
Oh, it's
What's up? Yeah.
yeah.
We're going into some history tonight.
Off
Some
rip.
serious
But
history.
this
tonight.
was like pre all that, so you're getting kind of an inside look of like what was going on during that little time.
Straight up.
Yeah, Inverse was popping off during
yeah.
that.
Inverse. I recorded Inverse's record at my house. Wow. Yeah. But during that time, we did this track with Tatiana for this movie, and I made sure that Tunji wrote it.
Yeah.
Not to put him on blast. He's a married man, but he was like, "Yo, I need to write that track for Tatiana."
Yeah.
I was like, "Yo, I got you."
Yeah. A&R Maddie came in and was like, look, no, it's already written, Blair.
But
You got it.
she loved it, and the three of us totally hit it off, and the three of us went off and started writing a record for her at my house. Myself, Tunji, and Tatiana wrote like 5 or 6 tracks for a record for her at my house.
That's fucking
And Tunji is an amazing songwriter.
Oh,
He's
lit.
amazing.
Unreal.
If you've never heard that dude rap, oh my God. Tunji can fucking rap.
Oh
Bro,
yeah,
no,
but I mean,
no.
yeah.
Tunji could come out with a record today and like start challenging cats.
No, in 2 seconds.
He's lit with it. I like it's crazy.
I don't know
like,
about today because he's like way smarter than like the hubbard, like he doesn't fuck with that.
No, but like his flow is lit.
It's so crazy.
out of
He's so
like
crazy.
Tunji as a lyricist is lit. Like
Yeah.
I still go back like every so often and it's like rock Tunji records.
And also those choruses. He's a fantastic
he is.
chorus man.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh,
yeah, he's seriously.
No, but look, that's also what makes him a great A&R.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
he knows
Like,
a good songs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Tunji.
Shout out
Yeah.
to Tunji.
I haven't seen you in a long time, man.
Yeah.
I
Don't
miss
worry,
you.
you're going to see him soon. And Joe, we about to send him another text soon.
yeah. About to
You
blast
should text him right
yo.
now. Text him right now.
I'll text him right now.
Let's get Tunji Bolagoon on the phone.
You love bringing people together like that?
Yeah. That's what I'm here for, right? Yeah.
Fuck the Flash. Hold on. Forgive me. That was like a stone cold moment just ruined by the Flash.
And we're back.
From a piss break.
You know how we do. So yeah, man, the ultimate maestro bringing things together.
Yeah, maybe I was just thinking about it. No, I'm not saying this is why, but you step away for a second, you get like a little bit of like a chance to think for a second.
Respect.
Maybe the idea of like wanting to bring everyone together in a sense of like community and family and home was because of how I was brought up. Like I was raised in this like home.
Bang.
Where everything's together and everyone is just like happy and loving and like everything is functioning properly.
And during this time
Like
too,
maybe I want everyone to have that child. Like I had an amazing childhood. Like I want to bring that to everybody.
Goddamn right.
well, and to go further in that, like to show you how deep it was, we had jams all the time.
I still have some of those recordings.
Where Matter would bring,
Break him out.
he would bring in different music,
I should
all
have brought
different
some. I
musicians.
thought about bringing some music.
There was
actually.
times like where we wouldn't even know everybody, and everyone would come in and let's just start playing.
How electric was that?
We did that on my birthday. That's what I wanted for my birthday. You remember that Fay Dodo?
Oh wow!
Remember that?
Really?
Remember that?
Fay
When I
Dodo.
brought in Eric Mason, dude playing cello.
Oh yeah, we did a live version.
That was like
of
the
this.
first time that like Tunji and Noah were together outside of when they were like doing the little rap battles, when they like actually hung. Grimes was there and Naive,
Yeah,
and you were playing and Eric was playing. Yeah,
I remember that, the cello dude.
yeah.
Yeah, we would do these things where like a bunch of musicians, we'd all come together and then just start playing. And yeah, there would be rappers. Tunji and Noah would freestyle. We would just on the spot come up with music. Like
That's so
we
fucking
wouldn't even know each other, and we would just come up and start playing and jamming. And there was such a rawness to that, and it was always fucking like fire too. At least we thought it was. I mean, you still have those recordings, but
I have them, and I've like cut them down and edited them, and like
Let's go. It's a wrap. Yo, I need to hear these.
And what was that? What was that old dude on the drums?
Oh, Bars.
Bars.
Oh, dude, that guy's a fucking killer.
Dude.
He's one of the most amazing drummers I ever met.
No question. He was amazing.
Real jazz cat.
Yeah.
Real jazz cat.
Yeah, no question.
Shout out to Michael Barsamonte.
He's actually like, without him, a lot of that stuff would have just fallen flat.
He held everything together.
Yeah.
Dude, I played in a live drum and bass band with him. It was him, bass, saxophone, and me. And it was like weird out fusion jazz / drum and bass.
Insane.
It was, I mean, that guy's chops are like
Unreal.
they're not human.
No. I think
people talk about like, oh yeah, no. This is a real jazz dude.
He actually told me one time that I needed to practice more. And like, I've always remembered that. And I was like, it was one of the first times we had jammed. And he was like, yeah, no, you're good. You need to practice more though. You got to practice more. And he kind of said it in a way where like, I knew I was sloppy. I was just a sloppy player. And I tightened up real quick. Next time we saw each other, I was like, okay, I'm not playing like high and drunk and wild anymore.
No, I mean, he played with everybody.
Yeah, he's a legend.
Yeah.
So from that point, we had Mud Luscious going on pretty cracking. And Noah was going on pretty cracking.
Yeah.
But then it got like a little weird.
It definitely got weird. Everything started to just kind of fall apart.
Yeah, and
that's when I started to just do my own thing. And that's when I really started to link heavier with Adam.
Yeah, and I remember I think that's when like the conversations really originated where I was like, just do you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of been a through line, but during that time when I felt because things started to get serious is when things started to fall apart.
Yeah.
You know, and I think everyone was very confused at the time too, in their own way. As focused as everyone was, you know, I know Noah had like some major identity issues going on.
Yeah.
I had like some weird shit going on too, where I didn't really know where like to fit in, and I had to like choose where to spend my time. You know, I remember I couldn't do Mud Luscious anymore because I had to focus on like what Noah was doing. And that was like a really hard thing. And New Kingdom was starting, and that kind of was like...
We were in that weird rehearsal space, like...
Oh, yeah.
Off like Western or something. La Brea or something.
Yeah, La Brea Jefferson, yeah.
La Brea Jefferson, yeah.
You know, we were doing... New Kingdom started happening, and like you had all these things happening, and I was saying like, as everything was happening and getting serious, everything was also simultaneously falling apart. And it's when you get serious that like... It's always when shit gets real... Like, here's a phrase I always use. Everything's cool until it's not cool. Like, as soon as things, like, shit gets real, especially in music, people start to fucking change. And that doesn't mean, like, change for the worse. It just means you just start to change. You start to think of, like, the possibilities of this. It starts to get serious.
Everyone's got their own agenda.
Yeah.
You see real colors, yeah.
You do. And you kind of, like, figure out, like, okay, this was something that was just all about having fun and rocking, but now it's like, wait, you know, where, you know, we got to take this more serious. You can't be doing this thing, you know, this other stuff, or, you know, what are we really doing here? We got to get some label attention, or what is this whole thing? Who's going to get paid? Who's making the album? Whose album is it? Whose band is this? You know, all these like weird questions start formulating, and like
the word me starts coming up all the time.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. And it like naturally though, like you kind of have to you realize like where the fuck do you fit in, you know? And I think during that time it was really weird and really difficult, and it was unfortunate looking back. Also think of that with the mind of like a 20-year-old kid, like in your like mid-20s, where like you don't really know what the fuck is going on, like your ego is driving you. You're like, and all of us never had like business goals. We just had like goals of wanting to be fucking rock stars and like play music. And then like shit gets serious, and you're like, wait a minute. It just gets super confusing.
Yeah. And what's great about this kind of story is like, this is the real story. This isn't like I grew up in the hood and I started rapping and now I'm making millions. It's like, no, this is like some real industry shit that it's like, no, that shit doesn't always work out.
No.
And
you know, it doesn't matter how much talent or, you know, cool shit you got going on. Like sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah. And when it starts to get realer right? Like, it's crazy to think about if we compartmentalize and look at like artistry and musicianship as an entity, right? When it starts to become real, when something you put your blood, sweat, and tears in, whether it's by deliberate choice or whether it's like a vibe thing that has started just becoming and it's getting a lot more real, when that structure comes into play and you realize like the music business, even pre-label, all that, when it's like, okay, we're getting together and now like it's about to be serious.
Yeah,
right?
It's music business.
It's music business, but it's interesting to see the dynamic shift in that when reality kicks in. Like, you're living a dream and now reality kicks in. And a lot of times that reality distorts what that dream could be.
Time.
100%.
That is a big portion of what happened to me.
Yeah. Let's dive into that.
Yeah, I mean, it becomes your job, right? Not everyone is fortunate to be like, I feel super inspired and creative and happy, and I'm gonna skip to work every day. Like, it doesn't matter what your job is.
I'm in a fucking band, baby. Fuck yeah.
Like, even if it is making records, or even if it is whatever.
Yeah.
Touring the world, or call it whatever you want. Designing sneakers, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, still your job. And like you're saying, like, maybe that's, unfortunately, that's how people put too much pressure on how that defines them.
Yeah.
You know? That's like, you lose your creativity, you lose your art, you lose that freedom, right? That just,
or
like,
the potential.
that brushstroke.
The loss can happen, but I feel like I completely get that based on your story, right? But in terms of just like in general, right? Like, if we're on a fucking panel and all this shit, and like we're talking to like the youth that are in that is when the prospect of losing that becomes very real.
Yes, and in turn, maybe that is what should be driving you. That's what you should turn that energy into, instead of thinking about it potentially negatively. It's like, hey, if we're on the panel and I'm talking to all these kids, where it's like, when that shit starts to become real, and you start to feel all of this pressure to perform, then you better step the fuck up and perform.
Absolutely. And with that, to that point, it's step the fuck up and perform. Because again, dreams are fucking phenomenal. But the reality is, you're not living your dream until you work hard enough to get there. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants what a dream could become, but very few are willing to work to the point where the opportunity is there for that dream to become a reality. And unbeknownst to them, or whether it's in their control directly or not, for that dream, for that reality to be what that dream was. It's like, talking about it is something very different than living it. Because living it, you start to realize, fuck, this isn't how I imagined it, until it is.
Yeah. Or it's just not going to be.
Or it's not going to be.
And you got to pivot.
Yeah.
I mean, and also during that time, you just lose yourself somewhere in that process.
How so?
Like, when things start getting real, you can't help but develop this ego. Not in the sense of like, I'm the shit or things like that.
Yeah.
It's just, you start to almost develop into a different character. Like, you start to take on all these different like feelings and things, and start thinking that you're so fucking important. And
or whatever. See, this is kind of where I got lost in that last point, is that especially in group settings, right? It's a lot more difficult.
So
when it's a single artist, it's like you against the world.
Yes.
Right. But when it's a group, and to that point, which made me like rethink it, it's that, and being that I was around the New Kingdom days where it was starting to fall apart, is I really think that ego, especially on cats that like even want to have that dream to be able to make it creatively, and even you, Matter, being the type of person where you're bringing everybody together, naturally, unless everything's in line, there's going to be a crux.
Yeah.
There's going to be a bottleneck,
Yeah.
right? And that ego becomes, bro, you don't want this as much as I do? Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Yeah.
Right? And that ego becomes like, well, shit, like this scenario may not be right for me because my dreams are being fucked with here. You know what I'm saying? Even pre-real, like
that's exactly what it is, though.
we all know that like when money comes in and cats are rocking and all that, like it gets blurry and shit gets like out of the picture. But even pre that, like on that, it's like when the dream is starting to become more real, it's like you're not gonna fuck this up for us.
Exactly.
Are you working as hard as we are? And that's what I think where like a group setting makes it way more difficult. Like group starts out as all of our boys.
Yes.
Right? But then when boys need to become men, some of them are not going to blossom as early as others.
No, and I mean that's exactly
what we're talking about. Like that's the real quote unquote industry scenario.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
like we're not popping off.
Yeah.
We're not pulling in, 6 figures a night. Like that's not happening.
And it's such the pre-real. Like you like we're selling out shows at small venues in LA.
Yeah.
Where we have tons of fans screaming at us, but they're really like friends.
Yeah.
We have you know what I mean? Like you get lost in this sense of what you're really doing versus, and it's a really fucked up like place to live in. And it's that whole like you're saying, that pre-real, during these 2 times where like Noah shit was popping off, Mudluscious shit was popping off. It was getting there. Like the buzz was there, and it was growing and growing. And then we all started taking it very seriously. And like you said, it became about me, not me, Joe, just everyone. It became about me for everybody. And I think that's kind of where the ego was. I know for me, it was 100%. I was just like, where the fuck do I fit in all this? I'm a bass player playing in these 2 groups, and like, I don't know what the fuck I even believe in. Like, I don't know what Noah's crazy ass is talking about this revolution shit. But like, this is where I started, so I feel like loyal to it.
Obligations.
But I fuck with.
But selfishly, you knew that shit had legs. You're like, yo, that could be real.
Yeah.
I actually knew both had legs, but because it was like Mudluscious and Noah, I felt more of an allegiance to Noah.
Yeah.
And
we could all feel that.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah. No, 100%. And looking back on it, it could have just come down to like better communication. That would never happen as adults. Like at our age now, it would never even like get a hair close to that.
Or would it though? That's the crux of it. Communication's the key. But don't think that just because we're adults now that we can freely communicate.
No, I feel you. I think, but I just think looking back on it, like communication probably could have resolved so much and actually let both those things thrive and grow. But we cut it at the legs before it even had a chance to grow, because everyone was so worried about how it was going to grow, and how this thing was going to progress.
I can't be in this band because I got to be in this band. And it's like,
yeah, it's like no band is really fucking popping off.
Happening.
That's the joke of it. Like you're making these decisions and nothing's really happening. And, it's such a crazy part of this industry is that when you're young and grinding and trying to like live your fucking dream, you get lost in that of your dream and reality and who the fuck you want to be, and who you really are at that moment. And those things get blurred completely.
I want to ask you this. How was that for you, Matt, as a creator and a curator? Because I feel like in your position, whether like the curator was dominant or not, it was a double-edged sword that you were just like getting stabbed by.
You're totally right.
How, take me through that. And like, take me through where it led you just mentally. Because like, again, you strike me as somebody that allows things to happen, but is very practical in his decision making when a change needs to be made, right? But I want to dig into the layer beneath change, in which like what that was like and how your mind processed it and where it took you. Because you know, in that moment, unbeknownst to you, it like me seeing it now, I'm going to make an assumption, is that you were orchestrating, but you were a piece of the puzzle, but you also like looked at it. You were able to take yourself outside of it and look at it in a bigger scale. So there was like, in that position, there seems to be more of a sense of responsibility and like seeing all these things happen and understanding like everything that comes with all of these things. How was that for you, experiencing it from both sides, and what did that? How did that affect you, essentially?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a real question, because you're totally right. I saw the whole thing, and it was tough because, like, this will go into why I'm doing what I'm doing now. I'm more of just like I like to give. I had the opposite mindset of you. It wasn't about me. I felt like I wanted to just sort of like, I was being this backbone, right? And everyone else could just be the arms and the face and the brain and all this stuff. And I was gonna hold this shit together. Yeah. And I was gonna just be part of all of this. One, because I wanted to be a part of all of this, and I felt like I could be a part of this. I've always liked to sort of stretch myself thin, right? And just like spread wings, and then just like hug, and whoever comes in on with this hug. But I saw it all like falling apart. I saw it. But I put myself in a position of weakness by being sort of because I was the crux of all of these sort of things happening. It's like, I can't, well, if I leave Renegade Soldiers, they ain't got no DJ, but they started New Kingdom. All right, that's cool. I'll keep fucking with Carl and all these other projects that I'm potentially working on. I can't leave Carl because me and Carl are Mudluscious, and without me, it's just Carl, right? Yeah. And so I like felt this obligation to all of these other projects that I like in my heart knew that was like maybe not going to put me in the forefront, maybe not make me money, maybe not make matter, you know, or whatever words you want to put to it. And I was sort of putting myself on the back burner, not on purpose, but not on purpose, right? I was just like allowing this shit to happen without at first stepping in and being like, yo, that shit's not working. That shit's not working. I'm not working with you anymore. I'm going to go do me. It's hard. I felt this obligation to kind of stick around, for lack of a better phrase.
Glue.
Right.
How could the glue leave?
And he really was. Yeah. That's the crazy part.
You know what's wild? And the reason I like...
How can the glue leave?
The reason why...
That's so fucking true.
I was able to see that is because, like, dog, I'm talking to me when I'm talking to you. You know what
I mean? You asked the best question. You know? And I wasn't going to say that, but you asked it.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's what it is, because, like, that's the beauty of conversation, bro, is that you know, listening is where it all happens. And in understanding people as human beings, like, we have to be able to listen. You know what I'm saying? And in this conversation, I started to see it more and more and more, in that, like, you're bouncing in this world of a player in it, but also like a bigger picture visionary in it. You know what I mean? And you're toiling with those in it. And it's a beautiful thread in your story, which, like, you know, understanding where you are now makes a lot more sense. But in that time, because, like, the reason why I want to bring these things up is because these things fucking happen, man. It's like, looking back at it now, I don't think that you'd be able to say, I should have done it different, because, again, whether it's Kevin, the second base guy, whether it's fucking, you know, whatever it was that led, like, the Arizona in fucking the weird roommate you had, but the other two dudes that shared the common area, like, these things are out of our control, and if we were able to control them, they'd be different, right? But the bigger picture is that these things happen, right? And they're a part of our story, right? Maybe knowing that these things happen may allow somebody to be more comfortable with making a pivot sooner, right? But the bigger thing is just understanding that perspective. Like, these things are real, Like when somebody sees us now, when somebody sees us even then, they're looking at the surface.
Yeah.
But beneath the surface is a story. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And rarely does that story get to be told outside of the people that are living it. You know what I mean? And even with the people that are living it in those moments, it really is like it's not a story then, it's just life happening until it becomes a story later. You know what I'm saying? And that's the beauty of it, because it's like understanding you more and more as a person allows myself to really appreciate what I believe to be what you were dealing with at that point, in trying to keep everything together, but also sacrificing your livelihood, whether you knew it directly or not, to make sure that shit actually had a level. You know what I'm saying?
And trying to just make a living.
Yeah.
Trying to just fucking slang music, right? And just like do whatever I could to make that real. Because I wanted to live off music. And I was living off music. And that money wasn't coming from Renegade Soldiers. That money wasn't coming from Mud Luscious.
Yeah.
That was coming from other places.
Yeah.
And eventually it got to the point where it's like, I got to just do this. And the things just kind of fell apart on their own.
Yeah.
Right? Everything just sort of like disbanded.
Yeah.
You know?
Did it start to diminish value for you when it wasn't community?
Yeah, I mean, everyone, like I said, everyone has their own agenda, and that's fine. Like in my mind at the beginning, in this, you know, when we were all just like playing music and, you know, like you said, having dreams, is like we could all do this shit together. We could be like this fucking movement.
Yeah.
You know? Everyone's got so much talent. And we can like hit everything.
Yeah.
Everything with this group of people. And I liked that idea.
Yeah.
And I liked not from an egocentric point. It's like, yeah, I put that shit together.
No, not at all.
From the most selfless point of view. But eventually it got to the point where it was like, Joe was one of the people like I created with that I actually got like really deep. We could have real conversations, and we still do, which is why we're still such close friends. Yeah. Real friends. You know, taking what he told me to heart, and then just, you know, listening to people that I really trust and I really care about, and myself just being like, I need to just do me.
Yeah. I wish somebody told me that earlier. But then now I can appreciate them not, right? Because had I made a change in whatever the fuck way earlier, who knows? Maybe I'd be on a path to like way more greatness. But when I look at my shit right now,
yeah, I mean, I think about that too.
And I appreciate all the indecision and also my insecurity and telling people how lost I was with them seeing me as some like facilitator. That, like I did get that, but I like, imagine this. Imagine you're facilitating hella shit, and imagine you're able to like break barriers within people and like be able to utilize that for the greater good of the community, but being empty. You know what I'm saying? So like cats are telling you you're like so great, and I'm just like dead inside. You know what I mean? But to wish to somebody, like I wish somebody would have been like, bro, like, what do you do? Shout out to the beach whale over there. You know what I'm saying?
You guys didn't hear that, but we all.
Y'all didn't hear that, but Delos Prados just like started like queefing from the bathroom. No, but on some chill shit, it's like, look, that sense of loyalty, that sense of like wanting everybody to win, it's always there. You know what I'm saying? And like at the same time, like there was an emptiness to that. And you know what I mean? And it happens. And to be honest, yeah, I wish people would have told me that, but at the same time, I wish I would have been more vulnerable to be able to express that.
What was crazy with that, and what you just said is like, for the betterment of the community, like both you guys are coming from a selfless place. I think looking back on it with you, I was like, just do you. It was kind of like I think the second part of that sentence was because everyone else is, you know what I mean? Like, and, you know, as kind of fucked up as that kind of is, I just knew in like, cause we had been like real friends and like we both had kind of were seeing everything going on. And even in New Kingdom, like when you and I talked, it's kind of like the same thing. Like when things started to feel weird, these conversations. But with you, I saw that like all your talent and everything that you had, and trying to, you know, you were taking this selfless position, but you were adding so much value at the same time, but it wasn't being like reciprocated.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, at this point in that situation, like, and it was like an undertone.
Yeah.
No one's talking about this stuff. That's what makes it weird. No one's like saying like, everyone does have their own agenda, and it's not just,
which is fine.
And it's not always, it's always not like 100%.
Imagine this: if people are way more freer to speak about that candidly, whether like they believe it fully and that's them, or whether they're thinking these things. Like, imagine if open communication could happen at the juvenile state.
But right? I also think
how much clearer this shit would be, and how much like more comfortable decisions made would feel. But that's youth.
No, it's such
our,
youth.
Like,
yeah.
That's chasing
exactly.
a dream.
No,
right? Like we forget about the basic principles and all these things. But it's like at the same time, right? Whether it's a curator wanting to who's the glue, who's taking himself out of it just to make sure everybody else is like kind of in the mix still, or compartmentalized creators, right, that are on that path, whether they're like, I don't know if like this is the group I want to be in, or that one, or this, that, or the other. Imagine the ability and what potential-wise could become if cats are way more free to talk about it.
Yeah, no, I mean,
but we're also like within ourselves, even if it's a selfish intent, especially in that juvenile stage, that selfishness is still like, I don't want to let people down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nobody was like, you know what, fuck y'all, I'm not going to do it there, I'm going to do it here. Right. It was kind of like, well, this is kind of working more right now, and I'm uncertain about that. So like, even if I don't want to talk about it with them, I'm going to slide in this direction.
Right.
And just let life happen.
But it's so, yeah, I mean, it's like there's a lot that I kind of regret about that. And
I mean, that was a really pivotal time in our lives.
Yeah.
You know, your mid-20s. Like,
yeah.
That's when a lot of decisions are made.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really, really weird. And
I mean, bro, like imagine this, and this podcast wouldn't happen if this wasn't the case. I knew she get it done, right? But after you and I had broken up, like I could have gone label route, tried marketing, whatever, or agency route, all this. I still wanted to be with like the bands directly, because like for me it was the people, right? And that's not going to get nobody any money because it takes a long time to develop that, right? But if I was in my like knew she get it done mind, there's no way I'd work for a fucking Nick Lippman. There's no way I'd allow myself
to. You work for Nick Lippman?
Yeah, because
well, we're gonna get to that.
Yeah, no, but look, I wanted to work with New Kingdom, and I knew that Nick Lippman was managing them, right? So after you and I had broken up, I was like tail spinning, and I was like, just like, look, like I'll come work with you, like if you can't pay me that much, like I'll do odd jobs and like do that because I saw promise in New Kingdom, right? And they were my boys, right? And I'm over here working on. It's crazy when you think about it. Like this is what made me start like hating it, because I'm working on 5 other projects that I fucking hate. I'm not gonna name any names, but I fucking hate. And then I have New Kingdom, like my boys that I'm able to like shuck and jive with and just like get really gully with, right? But if I was like on my music executive path and Nushi manager, I wouldn't be there.
Yeah,
right.
But had I not been there, and had we not gone through what we did, even in my fucking like I'm not maximizing my potential, it allowed us to get here.
So that's how you two met.
Yeah.
Huh.
Straight
actually, and it was even like a little before I actually met Anush, because he was with you and I think we had done a show, or he was at a show. We had done a show at the Roxy, and he was there, and that's when we first met. And then you and I had broken up, and then, Anush got in, and Anush was like there every fucking day with us.
I worked with Nick too.
Yeah.
You did?
He repped me. And
that's where it is. Boom. Familiar. That's where it is. Familiar face. Yeah. Boom. Wow.
And then I brought in Adam. So Nick repped me solo, and then me and Adam.
You're goddamn
was this
right.
This was after New Kingdom then?
No, you know what's crazy when you said
it was
just
at the same
matter,
time. It was the same time.
Oh.
I was like, Bob.
Oh, same time?
Same time.
Oh.
Yeah, bro.
I got introduced to Nick through Sam.
Yeah, through Sam. Yeah.
Sam Sylvan. And so, great. Let's fast forward, right?
Yeah.
Stop fucking with this chump.
Yeah.
And
You dig.
Start writing more music on my own. I'm getting opportunities to like just write a bunch of music. I was really fortunate. I got to like write a lot of music for like TV commercials.
Yeah.
And this is before that was like the only way to get paid.
That's tripping me out.
You know? And so I was like, I wanted to get into that.
Yeah.
I was in that because I had done the film and I was like, yo, this is where it's at. And so there's a guy named Adam Berg who you guys fucked with a little bit, and then you guys didn't really get along with. But I met Adam through Naive. There was another guy part of this whole crew, this rapper named Steve, who goes by Naive, who I was making tracks for, and then also this guy Adam was also making tracks for him at the same time. And Adam and Steve met each other because they went to UCLA, which is around the corner. See, it's all like So Steve put Adam and I in touch. He's like, yo, you guys are both making tracks for me. Maybe we could all just work together. And so he put Adam and I in touch. And Adam and I wrote a little bit of music for Steve. And he and I got along really well. And this was at the time, like he was still working out of his house. I was still working out of my house. And he was about to like build a studio in Santa Monica. He's like, yo, I got a little bit of money. I'm going to start like build like a real studio. And so some shit went down with Adam and these guys. And so like I like pledged my allegiance to these dudes. I was like, I'm not gonna fuck with Adam right now. Like, I'm just gonna keep doing my thing. But he and I like would throw work towards each other.
Yeah.
It was like like not only is he a super ridiculously talented record producer and engineer, but an amazing pianist and just like instrumentalist in general.
Word.
So when I needed keys on stuff, I'd hit him up and he'd play keys. And he played keys on the Mud Luscious record. You know, played organ.
Very talented.
And
dude.
super talented dude. And then like if he needed like programming or scratching or like more kind of electronic kind of things, he would hit me up and I would work on some of his projects. And that's how we started like throwing work at each other.
Yeah.
We lost touch for a little bit. He ends up building this recording studio in Santa Monica, which is still there, which is beautiful. We get back in touch, or he has like an opening party for the studio. And I was like, I'm gonna come check this place out. Turns out it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like on Olympic and 9th, like 9 blocks from the beach, right around the corner from Bay Cities. I was like, yeah, I can fuck with a godmother.
Yeah.
And hit the studio up. That sounds great. You know,
Straight up.
so we start like getting back into it, and we start like throwing work back at each other all the time, and eventually gets to a point where he's just like, you're like here all the time. He had a studio in like a massive building that had like a bunch of different studios. It was like an old rehearsal hall that they had turned into recording studios.
Word.
And a smaller room 2 doors down had opened up. He's like, yo, what if we go in this room together and we can just like start working all the time? Boom, boom, we'll have 2 rooms and we don't have to like share this board.
Yeah.
I was like, that sounds great. So he and I go in on this other room together. So like I bring all of my stuff there and we're basically just like ping ponging stuff all day long. Just work. And we bring in these other musicians and we start like this sort of Motown vibe where it's like we have our musicians, we have our band, and every project it's always the same dudes, no matter whose project it is. Adam's project, my project, someone else's project, and we're just gonna like this is every like that dude plays bass, that dude plays guitar. I'll do the programming and the scratching and the editing. Adam will record it, you know, play keys. Like we had our core and we were just hitting it, you know, and doing great.
Yeah.
Living, making music.
Yeah.
You know, don't have to be in a band anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Still kind of tied to Adam.
Yeah.
That's going great. It's going really well. Eventually gets to a point where, and like through all this, I'm DJing all the time now, like traveling, like it's going, it's working. I start to like hit that same sort of feeling. And this is like a speed through this, but like that same kind of empty-ish feeling where it's like, I'm not making art anymore. I'm getting hired to write a song. Right. And it's like, this person wants this thing for this thing. BMW has this spot and this thing, and this is the reference track. We want it to sound like this Justin Timberlake record, but we can't afford this Justin Timberlake record. So you got to make a song that sounds like this record, and that's how all that shit works, right? It's like,
mechanical.
Here's the spec track.
Yeah.
Make it sound like this, but not close enough where they can tell what it is, but don't stray too far away because, you know, the execs at BMW love this song. But they don't want to pay for it. Yeah. But we'll pay you because you're not fucking Justin Timberlake. So you make that song, you know? It's like, okay, boss, I can do that.
Yo,
you know?
for real.
That's a job.
Yes, boss.
That's a job.
Yeah.
And that's what it became. It became a job, right? And then all this time, secretly, like I've always just really loved restaurants and bars. And then it got from like, I was fortunate I've traveled a lot. I've been a lot of places in this world, and I've seen some crazy hotels and been eating at ridiculous restaurants. And
when you went there, were you kind of like really?
Yeah, I just always loved it. I just always loved it. My brother and I always talked about opening a bar at some point. Like we were just always into it. I just loved it.
And also, just like I want to, before I know where you're going, but I'm just gonna dive in just real quickly about you as a DJ.
Yeah.
Because you as a DJ is your core.
Yes, 100%.
And you're really fucking good at it.
Thank you.
And talk about, just before you jump into restaurant world.
Yeah.
Talk about where you're at with being a DJ and that element to what you're doing.
So, I mean, I don't really DJ anymore.
Right now, no, I know.
Right now,
but during that moment,
but during that moment, I was.
You got the BMW spot here, there. Was DJing something that you still felt connected to?
Yeah, it was more like I was using the turntable as an instrument, like I wanted to. Almost every song I had like some sort of turntable scratch element. I was doing all this kind of like weird experimental stuff with the turntable to make it percussive. Mm-hmm. Where that was always like, that goes all the way back to playing in that jazz band. Like I always loved using the turntable like an instrument. Like I didn't really care about DJing. I'm really good at it, and I can put a set together and I can blend every genre of music. And I feel like I have a knack for that.
100%.
And that like I have this deep knowledge of music that I'm appreciative of. But what is known as a DJ in the like broadest scope of that is like, what did Tunch say? Yeah. Yeah, he knows. He knows that you know.
Yeah, he does.
He knows that you know.
He does.
But like in the broader spectrum of like what the mainstream media sees as a DJ right now,
right,
which is like some European dude playing in Ibiza and fist pumping, like I'm not down with that. I'm just not into that. Like I was never into like the nightclub scene here in LA.
Although you did rock with Kelly Rowland a little bit.
I did, and we played a lot in Europe, and we were playing ghetto tracks.
Hey, you know that new she?
Yeah. That's how Nick started fucking with me. Yeah. Yeah. He handled that tour for me.
But that just so that but being that DJ,
but like
and
being
doing
that kind of DJ was just never an interest to me.
So, and I wanted to tie that in because we get it from the production side. Like the production side is not feeding your soul right there, doing these like mechanical ass spots. And the DJ side isn't really feeding your soul. Yeah,
the reason the DJ side is not feeding my soul is because it's not like feeding me. Like I wanted to go be super artsy and do this like weird artsy stuff on the turntables.
Right.
And it's like, you know, it just didn't pop for me like that.
Right.
You know, that's such a hard route. And like, had I been working at that route the whole time, it might have been different. Like there's one DJ Shadow.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like there's one Eamon Tobin. Like those dudes don't exist a lot.
No.
There's guys like A-Track and Z-Trip that can like go through every genre and do that.
Yeah.
Like that's not the easiest thing to like. Now there's this quote like open format DJ and we play everything. Like that wasn't really like that all the time.
Right.
Like, you know, AM like really got that going a lot, you know, and then like, but like dudes like A-Track and Z-Trip and things like that, like who can like do everything. I was more into that, that side of it, but even less on the club scene, much more on the like, I wanted to be in Portishead, you know, like I wanted to be DJ Shadow. I wanted to be Kid Koala.
Yeah.
Like I was on that tip.
Yeah.
And like most of the people listening to this, like probably don't know who the fuck Kid Koala is.
Right.
And in my opinion, he's like the best turntablist that's ever touched a turntable.
And Dan the Automator.
Yeah, like those kind of like out there. I wanted to be out there. I wanted to like on some weird Qbert shit. Like from fucking Mars.
Totally.
Like D Styles.
And you've always been like that.
These kind of weird music.
And that's the thing. He's always been a very out there dude. When making.
He was doing fucking porn samples.
Yeah, like that's where my brain was with DJing. And like at that time for me, that wasn't cutting it. That wasn't paying the bills.
Yeah.
It's like I can write some fucking electro pop songs.
But that's a very real thing. It's not paying the bills.
Yeah.
You know?
And I couldn't just like, I'm grown at this point. I'm not 18 anymore.
Right.
You know, I'm 28.
Right.
But like this 10 years later.
Yeah.
You know, and the craft is there. Did I put myself out there enough? Maybe not.
Yeah.
Like maybe I didn't push hard enough and just dive all the way into it. Maybe I.
Nushi from 32 rooms away.
Did you want that?
Maybe not enough. Clearly not enough. There was something holding me back. You know, I wasn't free enough to just do it. To just like live it and be like, I'm going to do this. Like, I don't give a fuck what else is going on. I'm going to make some weird ass turntable music. Yeah. And I have some of that. It lives because I made it. I made it for me. The world didn't get to hear it and I didn't get paid for it, but I got to create it and it exists.
Can I ask you this? Was the shit that you were getting paid for like super jobby?
Yeah, for sure. So and that still got to be artistic. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it was definitely jobby. But it's like, not music that I cared about.
Yeah.
And you can hear that in the music, right? Like it doesn't sound like it's coming from your soul. It sounds like it's coming from a fucking machine.
Yeah.
Because it was coming from a machine.
Yeah.
However well oiled or not, it was a machine.
Yeah. Like literally and figuratively from a machine. And I just didn't care about it. Like, and that was great. And I should have been happy, but I wasn't happy. Like you don't quit your job and move across the country because you're like completely happy. Like, let's keep it real, right?
Yeah.
Like we can talk about how amazing this opportunity was that I'll get to, but it's like you're not looking at that opportunity if everything's hunky dory.
No. Exactly.
You know, you're focused. Like if I was focused,
you'd give up something that could potentially be life changing because you believe enough in what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and I was out there doing my weird turntable stuff to empty rooms, and it's like that. You know,
it's not fun.
I can't. You know, like
you're a community guy, bro.
Yeah. Like I want people there. Yeah. I want you to hear this. I put a lot of fucking heart and soul into this. Like this is some weird art that like is not easy to do.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't being received. You know, and I didn't push hard enough, and I didn't stay that course.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of years doing some other shit. But that's fine.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
What was the pivot moment?
I got a friend of mine named Vishal was living in New York he actually just moved back to Los Angeles, but he was living in New York for like 10 years. One of, if not the smartest guy I've ever met. Like actual literal Doogie Howser. Like literally. He was the head of dermatological surgery at Columbia at 32 years old. Fuck. He's a genius. But he and I always shared this affinity. One, we had like super respect for each other. I was like, I don't know how you do what you do. Like, I don't know how you do what you do.
Yeah.
You know. But we both loved food. That was our thing. That was he was like my food buddy. Like I had one or two friends that I was like, yo, I'm gonna talk to you about music. I can talk to you about this. We have these people that like we're all broad, right?
Yeah.
We have these groups.
And Matter would always throw like dinner parties and shit too. It was part of his thing.
Oh, I mean, I told him that like you would come over to like do a session and I'd like make dinner for you, make cocktails for us.
He would make dinner and cocktails, like for real cocktails. Yeah.
Where the fuck was I? From 37 rooms away.
Yeah, no. So Matter's always like been this guy all the time. Like that's been his through line throughout all this.
Yeah, I just like enjoy being hospitable, and I think the bottom line of this whole thing, and we'll get into like this opportunity in New York in a second, is like the way I felt in music was like what's mine is mine and what's yours is mine, right? That's how music is. Like my hand's in your fucking pocket. Fuck you, pay me.
Yeah.
In the hospitality industry, it's not about taking, it's about giving.
Yeah.
Right? That's the whole point. Is like, I want you to come to my place so I can give you food. I just want to feed you. I just want you to have a drink. Just come be comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay, like come home. Be a guest in my home. Right? That's what it should feel like.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, you made that track? Yeah, but I kind of wrote that track too. It's like, what about me though?
Well,
like, you're getting back end money on that? What about where's my fucking paycheck?
What's the splits looking like?
Yeah. No, that should say M. Seigel before your fucking name.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, it's like everyone's got you kept looking over your shoulder. It's like, I don't want to do that, man.
Word.
I just want to give. You know? I just want to like, And I didn't really realize that's what it was. But that's what it was.
Yeah.
So I get an email from my buddy Vishal, who was like, all the time he would hit me up and he was like, yo, you got like, I know you want to do this thing. I know you and Steve keep talking about opening this bar at some point. Like, I know you really want to do that. He's like, if you really want to like learn, you need to come to New York. Like the food scene in New York is just light years beyond anywhere else in the country, especially in LA. And it is. It's a different fucking solar system.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. But like, I make music and I work in LA.
Yeah.
And I live in LA.
Yeah.
And I'm not moving to fucking New York.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Like, this is my life.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? And so every once in a while, he would just like hit me up. Like we would travel to Chicago together to go like eat at Alinea, you know, just to like go, just till we could eat there.
Shout out to Chef's Tables so that I even know what the fuck that is.
Yeah. I mean, this was like long time ago.
Yeah, I feel you.
And so he emailed me a link to apply for a job to be a host at 11 Madison Park, which is, you know, for those of you that don't know, it's just fucking Google it.
I feel you. Google fucking 11 Madison Park.
And he knew that I knew what 11 Madison Park was, you know, and this is in 2012. So it wasn't even like popping like it is right now.
Word.
But it was still definitely a big deal. Anyone who's into food like knows what that is at that point. And or like, yeah, late 12, early 13. So finally, like I hit, it's like, all right, this is the beginning of 13. And he sends me this email and he's like, dude, just apply for this job.
Just cold.
Just send a fucking cold email with zero experience. You're a DJ. Send an email. Okay, dude. Sure. All right. You know what? I'm going to send this email just so you'll shut the fuck up. That was like the fuck
you email.
Yeah. It was like, great. Here's the email. I'm going to BCC you on it so you can see what's going on. Apply for this. Send an email to like apply for a job to be a host. It's like, I don't know what that does, but I'm assuming you just like say hi to people. It's like, I can say hi to people. I got a good smile.
Yeah.
Great. I can do that.
Yeah. Send
this cold email, get hit back. Yeah, come on in. It's like, oh, I didn't mention I was in Los Angeles.
Wild.
So I'm like, I tell Vishal, he's like, yo, dude. So like we talk about, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll go take this interview. The worst comes to worst, I get to hang out in New York with my boy for a weekend. It's like an excuse to go to New York.
Lit.
Right? Okay. Fuck it. I haven't been in New York in a couple years. Like, great. Sign up for this. I fly myself out, put myself up in New York for one job interview to be a host at a restaurant that I have absolutely no business stepping foot in with zero experience because I'm writing electro pop songs for BMW.
Straight up.
Like, what the fuck?
And it's like even as prestigious as a restaurant can be, it's a host gig.
Yeah.
So you're like
nothing.
DJ lifestyle and music maker, and then you're being like a host.
Oh, believe me, they told me that multiple times. So I go to do this interview, right, with this woman named Mandy, who I give complete credit for everything to her. And I have to actually give a shout out to her. Mandy and Brandon just had a tragic loss in their family. So I want to let Brandon and Mandy know that I care about them a lot. So I go to meet Brandon.
Our thoughts are with you.
I go to meet Mandy at this job interview at this crazy restaurant.
Now, when you get to New York,
yeah,
I was jumping in.
Yeah, I stayed at the W because I still thought I was like the man at the time.
And you still had the bread, though. You know what I mean?
Like I was doing fine.
You weren't starving.
Yeah. So, like, what was that moment like? Just walking up to the restaurant, like, what were your expectations like?
Dude, I had no idea I had nothing.
So you're just
I even like I was like thinking, I was like, should I even bring a resume? Like, what's the point? What is the point? My resume says nothing.
So.
And nothing that has anything to do with anything.
Because like I would figure most people for this kind of like magnitude of a place and in this position would be fucking hella nervous.
I was super nervous.
Yeah.
And I'm an adult. I was grown at this point. In 2013, like I'm 32 years old. Like I'm a fucking man. And I was super nervous to apply to be a host at a restaurant. But I go and I was like, I mean, I'm here. Like, this is what I came for. I can spend 2 hours out of my weekend in New York. To go, like, I have to do this.
Yeah.
So I go and meet Mandy, and she and I chop it up, and it goes great. And she very bluntly says to me, she's like, you're very different than most people that apply for this job. You're a little bit older, and usually people that apply for this job are like fresh out of college, or they went to the Culinary Institute or whatever it is, or they're aspiring to be a actress or something, and they just need some time. You know, they just want like any kind of whatever. She's just like, you're different than most people that apply for this job. I don't understand why you're here, because if your resume is correct, it seems like you're doing great. You know, you're going to start at the bottom and you're going to make no money. I was like, I get that. But I know about this place, and I'm willing to do that because I want to get my foot in this door. Like I'm humble enough to know that I'm going to start at the bottom. I don't expect to just go be the chef. Yeah. Like, obviously, you know?
Now, what kind of made you okay with like just? Was it just like, look, I just want to get into this industry, so you were just ready to you didn't care?
Honestly, man, like this is gonna sound like some hippie shit, but it's like I knew I needed to be that place. I just knew. As soon as I walked in,
so you didn't care about starting at the bottom, or like your ego wasn't getting in the way,
I'm such a humble dude. Like I didn't care. I knew that. I wasn't expecting anything. I was expecting to start at the fucking bottom, and make no money, and I was just gonna learn and fucking work harder than everybody there. And that was my goal. I was like, I just want to get in this building. I just knew. I don't know. I don't know what it was, right?
Yeah.
Like, you just know. I just knew. I stepped inside there, and I was like, okay, this became like a real place, not just like an email with some woman's name. Like I stepped in that building, and if you haven't been in that building, it'll take your breath away. It's stunning. And then I just I got this great vibe from Mandy. And like I said, like I give her so much credit. She and I spoke about it the other day. Yeah, like she claims it. She's like, I claim you. She's like, I found you. I was like, no, I know. I give you full credit for it.
100%.
So whatever, we go through the interview and she's like, look, bottom line is like, I don't know that you'd fit in this role, but I feel like our GM would want to meet you. You're just so different than anyone that walks into these doors. I feel like he should just meet you. I was like, yeah, great. Let's do that. So she's like, look, here's his card. I'm going to send an email introducing the both of you. See if you can, this was we met in the morning. She's like, see if you can meet him later today. If he's free and if you're free, come back later today, or at worst tomorrow morning or something. And I was supposed to set to leave the following day. So I had all day. I had nothing to fucking do. So I reached out to this guy. His name is Kirk. I reached out to Kirk. And we couldn't set anything up until the following day. So I go to meet him now the next morning. But he's willing to see me. So I go back the next morning. Same suit. I brought one suit because I went for one fucking interview. I go meet this guy, Kirk. And we totally hit it off. He's younger than me, by the way. The general manager of 11 Madison Park is younger than the dude that's applying to just be a fucking host.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, younger than me. Substantially. And looks super young. He just looks like a kid. And I was like, you're the GM of this place? Whoa, I'm way over my head. I don't know what is going on.
Fuck.
But the thing that I had in my corner is I did my homework before I went in there.
Mm-hmm.
And the two owners, Daniel and Will, are super into music. Deep music dudes. They have pictures. They're the ethos of 11 Madison Park is Miles Davis.
Yeah.
There's pictures of Miles all over the kitchen. There's words that are inspired by Miles all over. That place embodies, if that place, essentially what it is if that place was a person, that place would be Miles Davis, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know anything, but I'm just going to talk to this dude about jazz. Because I know about some jazz. So I just Kirk and I just started chatting.
Shout out to Mr. Julian.
Shout out to Mike Julian. Shout out to Miles Davis. And shout out to Chef and Will, because those are the fucking men. We just start chatting like boys. It's just it didn't feel like an interview. We were just talking. And he goes through all those same routines I don't know what you're doing here. You're going to start at the bottom. You're going to make no money. Your resume looks impressive, but like, why are you here? What are you doing here? Like, it doesn't make any sense for you to be here asking me for this job. He's like, I am envisioning what you're doing, and it looks way cooler than what you're going to prospectively do here. Also, you don't live here. I was like, yeah, okay, that's cool.
You were a fucking unicorn that was like, hey, I just want to like chill in the zoo real quick.
Yeah.
I'm a purple unicorn, but like, can I kick it here at the LA Zoo?
Yeah, I was like, no, I'm fine. I will start at the bottom. I don't care. So we go through the whole motions. We go through all of it. And finally at the end, he's like, look, here's what I'll do. Next time you're in New York, you let me know, and I'll set up a trail for you. He's like, I like you. You seem interesting. Let me know next time you're in town, and we'll set it up so you can trail one of our guys during the night, and you can see if this is something that you actually want to do, and you can see what's going on here, and we can see if you're someone that could actually even function in this place. You know, he didn't say it like that, but like, let's keep it real.
Yeah.
He's like,
you're in the wild. You're not going to
Yeah. So, you know, me wanting to take advantage of the situation and like kind of knowing what I think he wanted to hear, I was like, well, I'm here now. And that's definitely what he wanted to hear.
Yeah.
And he was like, good, you're going to do it tonight.
Oh, that's fucking lit.
Which is also like very New York. It's like, great, let's go.
Yeah.
You want that apartment? Take it. But I was supposed to leave that night. And so I was like, okay. Great, let's just do it. And he looks at me, he's like, I brought a blue suit and brown shoes because I like that color combination.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Yeah.
And he looks me up and down. He's like, you got black pants and black shoes, right? Nope. One job interview, one suit. He's like, great. There's Fifth Avenue. Go buy black shoes and black pants and be back here at 6 o'clock tonight.
Wild.
I said, okay. I booked my hotel another night. I pushed my flight to the next day. And I took my ass to Banana Republic and bought black shoes and black pants.
Shout out to Banana Republic, bro.
Straight up. And now all of a sudden this job that I like kind of was just like whatever. I was like, I fucking want like these guys.
Yeah, you're working for it. You're like, fuck y'all. Let's go.
I was like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
But backtracking a tiny bit, in that conversation, I was like, so what am I going to be, like, what does this trail entail? Like, I wanted to get a little bit of some sort of insight as to what's going to be going on. He's like, oh, well, you'll go with one of our they call them kitchen servers, essentially a glorified food runner.
Yeah.
Take plates, drop them off the table, shut the fuck up, go back to the kitchen, take plates, shut the fuck up, go back to the kitchen. Explain the food, go away. You know? Clear the plates.
Yeah. Don't overstep your shit.
Yeah. And move fucking faster. Great. I go, do all the thing, come back. He tells me like to go in through the back, like the employee entrance, and we like walk through the kitchen, and I'm like walking through the kitchen, and it's like, this kitchen, guys,
what's going through your head
is immaculate. The kitchen at 11 Madison Park, is cleaner than the dining room in any other restaurant you've ever been to.
Really? The kitchen,
fucking spotless, and it's dead silent. Your shit is perfect. It's silent and it's beautiful. And everyone in there is a fucking killer. And I'm just walking through this place and everyone's just staring at me. I don't know where I'm going. I'm like bumping into people. It's small, like, I mean, it's a massive kitchen, but there's a lot of people in there. So I don't know which way is up from down, and there's someone trying to like guide me through, and I'm just fucking nervous. Like I'm like, fuck, I'm way over my head. Like, I should be at the bar with Vishal right now. Drinking old fashions. Because I don't know what I'm doing here. This fucking piece of shit got me into this.
Yeah.
But now I like really want to like do it.
Yeah.
You know?
You're balls deep at this point.
I'm in it. I'm in there. I'm inside the machine.
Yeah, you're inside.
And so they pair me up with this dude named Matt, who also happens to be from Southern California. This dude, Matt, grew up in Orange County. He's like, Matt from California? Meet Matt from California. I'm sure you guys will understand each other. That's literally what they said to me. So I trailed this guy, Matt, who now has become one of my absolute closest friends.
Word.
And so I'm trailing him this whole night and like basically just shadow him, just follow him around.
Yeah.
Don't touch anything. Don't ask questions, but it's just like observe. So I'm following this guy Matt around all night, and like meanwhile during that whole thing, every different manager is like pulling me off the floor and like spot interviewing me, and it's like fucking intense. Like the magnifying glass is definitely on this guy. And so they're like asking me all these background questions, asking me all these restaurant questions. I don't know what the fuck is going on, and they're like talking about asking me all whatever, just like interviewing me like on the spot, like trying to catch me off guard. And that happened like 2 or 3 times in the middle of the night. And then I go back to Matt and just follow him around, and he'd ask me questions and I wouldn't know the answer because I didn't fucking know anything.
Yeah.
And I didn't front. Like I was honest with everyone. I was like, I've never worked in a restaurant.
Yeah.
I don't know anything.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't trying to like fake anybody out.
Yeah.
I couldn't. Like they'd see right through me.
Absolutely.
Why? And like, why would I do that? So I go through that whole night. I go back at the end of the night. I finally get back to Kirk's office, and he's like, hey, look, I just want you to know we really appreciate, like, I know that you booked your hotel and I know you did all this stuff. And like, he's like, I'm going to say it again. Like, I still don't understand why you're here. I don't understand why you want to be here. And I'm going to tell you again how little money you're going to make here. But I can tell that you actually want to be here. Like, you have that drive and desire. I was like, yeah, dude, like, I'm not here.
Did you ever at that
around.
point have a voice to why you wanted to be there or not yet?
I just knew. I just knew. Like, after going through all of that, I loved the way that they operated. And still to this day, which is like why I remain.
What was that?
Perfection. Right? We can never be perfect, but they strive to be perfect every night.
If the goal is perfection, like
you want to be perfect. Right? Like at a restaurant of that caliber where imagine every single guest that comes into that restaurant, this is the way they put it to me.
Okay.
If every guest that comes into this restaurant doesn't have the best meal of their life, we failed.
Fuck. And they're goddamn
That's LeBron
serious.
scoring 50 every night.
Yeah.
Every night.
Triple-double, too.
Every night. Yeah. Russell Westbrook, triple-double scoring 50.
I like that.
Every night.
I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
If every guest doesn't have the best meal of their life, we failed.
Oof.
And that restaurant's open every day. It's closed 4 days a year. I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
I want that.
I like that.
Yeah. I want to be Kobe every night.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Hurry up and run. Let's run. I want to run. I like that. I like that New York mentality.
Yeah.
Like, let's go.
Yeah.
I never had that.
Because this is giving on another level. This is giving perfection every night.
Yeah. Not only are you giving, you're giving perfection.
This isn't giving just to give. Like, you're trying to find the art of what perfect giving is.
And they, like, it's so personal and so detailed. Every guest is one of one, was what we would always say, right? It's not like this, you're all going to get the beef. No, you're not all going to go eat 11 mass meal. Like, Anusha's going to have Anusha's meal. And Joe's going to have Joe's experience. And Eric's going to have Eric's experience. And every single person is going to have their perfect experience. Right?
Yeah.
I just love that. I want that. And I saw that. Even in that little bit of trail, I could just see, like, it honestly looked like a fucking watch, like the inside of a watch, and every step was perfect. It's attempted perfection.
Lit.
And I loved it.
Lit.
I was like, yeah. That's way cooler than like.
Nobody else went to Banana Republic, but you did.
Right.
You got it done.
Right.
Like, there's Fifth Avenue. All right, word. I'll be a banana.
Yeah.
They have a huge store there.
And they got a sale on black pants.
Literally, he pointed. He's like, "There's Fifth Avenue," and I'm glad he did. Go, I don't know. Fuck.
Yeah.
I've been to Manhattan like twice in my life. So after that, I'm in Kirk's office, and he's like going through all these things. I was like, "Yeah, man. Like, I really actually want to be here. Like, I'm not just throwing money around. Like, I want to be here. I'm not like, wasting time." So he's like, "Here's what I'll do." He's like, I'm going to talk it over with Matt and see how you did, and then the other managers, and we're going to kind of all reconvene. But what I will promise you is before you leave New York tomorrow, we'll have an answer for you either way. Either yes or no. But at least we'll give you an answer.
Yeah.
I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now,
fair.
I couldn't, like, when I pushed my flight. Now I couldn't get a flight the next day till like 9 p.m. was the like earliest flight for whatever. So now I'm walking around New York, and my buddy's in fucking surgery, like cutting people up, being a doctor. And I don't know anybody in New York. The only other people I know in New York is Ian's sister.
Oh yeah.
My buddy Ian's sister Melanie and her husband Steve owned a little hot dog stand in like Nolita. So I just hung out at their hot dog stand all day because this job that I didn't really care about, it was an excuse to go to New York. I was now scared to go on the subway because I thought I was going to miss a phone call.
I feel you.
Go underground.
Insane.
Now this thing I really didn't care about. I was like, yo, if I can't miss this phone call. Like I can't let it go to voicemail. I have to talk. Like I have to know.
You got to be in open air.
This.
You got to make sure your service is immaculate.
Yeah.
Now I want this. Bad. So I don't hear from him all day. I don't fucking figure. I'm like, fuck, I didn't get it. Right. The worst thing that happens to me is I come back to LA and keep writing music.
Yeah.
Wow, life's fucking rough.
Yeah.
Right. But now, like,
you're Jason Timberlake.
Yeah.
But now, like, I'm dedicated. It was like I saw.
You tasted it for a second.
I saw it.
Yeah.
I was like, that's.
And they put you in it. You wanted that.
In it.
Yeah.
So I'm all the way to get to the airport. Still haven't heard anything. At 8 p.m., I'm like about to board this plane. I get an email from Kirk. Here's where it gets even crazier. The day that I got offered my job was the day that the for those who don't know, the San Pellegrino Awards is what ranks all of the restaurants in the world.
Okay.
Right? That's the Pellegrino list.
Got it.
They were currently number 10 in the world when I went and interviewed there.
Okay.
I get an email.
Unbeknownst to you? Or
I knew.
Okay.
I knew. I get an email from the general manager of 11 Madison Park. Me. Fucking Matter.
Yeah. Jason Timberlake over here.
Yeah, Jason Timberlake at his
saying, congratulations, you've just been offered a job at the number 5 restaurant in the world. They jumped from 10 to 5 the day that I got offered a job.
Wow. What the? Hold on. Mama! And this isn't even like we made it. It's just like, Mama, we here. But what was that feeling like?
I'll tell you the email I wrote, which is maybe like the dumbest piece of idiot. Like Matt just being a dumb fuck.
Can we, but can we express Matt being a dumb fuck?
Yeah, I'll get to it. But the feeling was just like, fuck. Now I have to take it.
Like almost like it turned from fantasy to like, oh shit, is this real?
Now it's real.
Yeah.
Wait.
This whole talk about
we dream,
it just
we dream,
became
we dream,
real.
we dream.
Wait,
Instantly.
am I ready to leave Los Angeles? Like
My whole life is going to change in this email.
everything changes. Like
I
and
say
it just
yes.
it
You
just
came out
became
there
real.
on a whim. You got thrown into it. You wanted it. You were leaving. You got it.
Yeah, be careful what you ask for, right?
Yeah.
You goddamn right.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Like, am I ready to leave this? My comfort zone, my life, my family, friends,
Yeah.
work, everything.
What is this?
Everything's great.
What would people think?
Right. You're going to go do what?
Yeah.
You're going to be a waiter? You're going to be a food runner? What's a kitchen server?
Yeah.
The fuck is that? What's 11 Madison Park?
Yeah. Cool. Top 5 restaurant in the world, but like, look at what you're doing and look where you're going.
Yeah.
But you wanted it.
But I wanted it. So I'll never forget. This is on a Thursday.
Yeah.
And I get an email. So I get that email. I send it back to Kirk, and I was like, Kirk, thank you. I'm like honored. I'm flattered. I'm humbled. Like I'm sort of speechless.
Yeah.
I'm about to board a plane back to Los Angeles. Let me take the weekend to think it over. I'll get back to you on Monday.
He did that. He did that. This
Yo! Hold on. Did you? Hold the fuck up.
the idiocracy.
No, but look. This is coming from the dude, right? That he was like, yeah, when, next time you come in LA, like, just let me know and, we'll have you run. And you're like, but I'm here. This motherfucker gave you the job. He was like, yeah, I got a couple other offers. You know
Let me take the weekend.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? Actually, the number 3 restaurant in the world reached out to me.
Danielle and Per Se are also on the list. So I don't know.
I'm battling between host and the kitchen
Literally,
server, but
the unicorn. This is his one actual place.
Can I ask you this though? After you sent that, like looking back at it now, you're like,
yes, instantly.
Yeah.
Instantly, I was like, you fucking idiot. What did you just do? You
can't like reply again.
And then I get on the plane, it's like, please turn off your phone. I was like, fuck, the next 5 hours is just torture.
God.
It's like, you just blew it.
That's
you
like
just
the
blew
3
it.
a.m. text to the chick you really fuck with, and like you're lit as God, right? And you just take something out of context, and you think you're just being like, well, this. You wake up in the morning, you look at your phone, you're like, God, fuck. This is the job. It's not the job of your dreams, but this is the job of the moment in an environment that's like
that could potentially change my whole life.
Picture perfect. Yeah, picture perfect.
Yeah. Not that my life was
but
bad,
can
but
I
it could
ask you
change.
this? So we know that was like the moment, right? I want to take it back before you sent that, right?
Before I sent that, I'll tell you. Before you ask that question, I will tell you something.
But look, I want to ask. So tell me before that, but I want to ask you as you were typing more so. But give me before you sent that, and then I'm gonna take you to as you're typing this. Fucking
So before I sent that, every time I would like leave Los Angeles, my mom would worry that I wasn't coming back because she always knew that like I had this desire to just like go.
Well, your mom was a giver, right?
Right. She knew, and but she would always just like joke, like, make sure you come back, you know.
Word.
And I called my mom before I sent the email.
Yeah.
I was like, Mom, I just got offered this job. I just want you to know I'm about to board a plane. I'm coming back to LA, but I'm moving to New York. I already knew.
Wild.
But then I sent that dumbass email.
So let me ask you this. I want to talk about the moment that it could even just be a stream of consciousness email. Like at the same time, bro, like you've been in the music game forever. So you're like, even dropping your dreams, you're not in this like, got it, great, gonna be there. Because this is your life changing.
Yeah.
Right? But let's take it to the tenderness of what the fuck was going through your head when you were writing that hoe ass email like that. Let's just be
I mean, like I think in the
look, you inflated and then deflated immediately.
Yeah.
You press send and realize you fucked up before you could even read it back. Like it was almost as if you were like, all right, blah 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 blah. Warm regards, Matt. Send. I'm an idiot.
You just like all the good that you just did.
Yeah.
Just went.
Yeah. You went to fucking Banana Republic, and like they were expecting Gucci or Valentino. You went to Banana Republic, got it done, right?
Yeah.
And
Black pants are black pants.
Yeah, and then out of nowhere, the DJ wanting to be a kitchen server had needed time to think.
Now, I mean, to be real, like what I was actually thinking was like,
you're giving your life up to come there,
right? Like I
yeah.
can't just be like,
you definitely didn't express it that way,
right? But like, was more like, well, I can't. If I say yes to this, what comes with that?
And that probably was also just like one of like the benefits to your scenario because you're like coming in there out of nowhere,
yeah,
right? And they're like, scoff at the email. But he is a DJ. You know what I mean? Like the wild shit is when they're giving you the benefit of the doubt. You know what I'm saying?
Well, so here's my thinking as to what the train of thought was there.
Okay.
Was like, we're number 5. We're partying all night. Probably not even checking emails.
Yeah, thank God
Who
for you.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
As soon as I landed, I sent that email. I was like, yo, let's do this.
Yeah.
But
the 5 hours of excruciating, just like regret.
Were you regretting it, or did you have to like let it go?
Yeah, I just had to I was like, that was a dumbass email. I probably didn't handle that well. You could have said it better.
Yeah.
Like I knew I wanted the job, but I couldn't
You couldn't.
I
take it
didn't
back.
want to all of a sudden just be like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
I like that was me just like giving myself
it was posturing, but like you didn't do it well. Like I feel it.
It clearly it didn't matter.
It didn't.
It was fine.
It didn't.
But
it didn't.
In my own mind, I was like, that's the email you just sent?
Yeah, like, are you fucking kidding me, bro?
But when I got back, it was like a day or two, like Saturday or Sunday, like before Monday hit. Like I sent them an email. I was like, hey, I want to do this, but I asked for like a 2-month deferral to like get my life together. So I sent him that email. It was the end of April. So it was almost 4 years ago. And I asked if I could start in July, like right after 4th of July. So I was like, I need a couple months to like change my whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they were literally like, the response, honestly, was, there is no position for you here. We don't need kitchen servers. We hire people. And we think that although you have no experience, you would be an amazing fit here. So you take as long as you want, and when you're ready, there'll be a position here for you.
That's fucking incredible.
Unreal.
That speaks so much to that company.
Yeah.
That in itself, right there, is why that company is
They could have been like,
as great as it
They
is.
could have been like, no, we need you here yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we just need a body to fill a job.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. No. They literally said, like, we hire people, and we think that you're a great person.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I took 2 months, wrapped everything up, and moved across country.
We're not done yet.
You want to see how little people I knew in New York? So I knew 2 people.
Shout out to Vishal though.
Shout out to Vishal. I had dinner with him last night.
I want to take a moment and thank Vishal for being as brilliant as he is, and even giving a fuck enough to like keep throwing like.
So there's a little part that I need to also explain.
There it is, baby. We get it.
The night before my job interview. So part of what Vishal was offering, along with this email, was like, hey, one of my new patients happens to be the head sommelier at 11 Madison Park.
All right, podcast over, bro. Like, all right, yep.
Thank you guys very much.
So he's like, yo, you should really apply for this job, and maybe I can like tell him that you're going to come in, and maybe he can put in a good word for you.
He wasn't just like, yo, I saw this on monster.com.
I mean, he did see it, and then he was like, yo, it just so happens. He was like, yo, maybe I could set up like a dinner, and maybe we could like go have a drink, and you could meet him before the interview. Like, obviously it's not going to get you a job, but at least like you'll have some sort of reference, or you can meet him, and maybe, I don't know, you could have some sort of rapport with somebody.
Yeah.
So he sets that up. And I'm sorry I breezed over this, because that is a very important part.
We got back.
We go and have, and this whole thing comes full circle. It's so crazy how this shit works. We go, and myself, Vishal, and Jeff Taylor. Shout out to Jeff Taylor. And anyone who's in the wine industry in New York definitely knows fucking Jeff Taylor.
Jeff Taylor, what it do?
Go and eat at this brand new restaurant called Chez Sardine, which just opened up in the West Village, which is owned by a gentleman named Gabe Stillman, who I am fortunate to have become very good friends with. So shout out to Gabe, because he's a super influence on me now, and a really close friend. So we go and have dinner at this place, and we're like drinking heavily. We go and have, Vishal and I each have like a drink beforehand. I'm super nervous. I'm like going to meet the head sommelier at 11 Madison Park, the day before my interview. Like, oh, I got to like look cool in front of this guy. And then Jeff proceeds to like, we each have a cocktail at starting dinner, and then Jeff proceeds to order wine for us. Which, if you guys aren't friends with sommeliers, become friends with sommeliers, because all you got to do is go to dinner and show up, and they'll order everything. Because they want to, or they want to order. They want to drink what they want to drink, and they want to eat what you want to eat, and you just got to show the fuck up. And it's the best.
Amazing.
It's the best. So we go and have dinner with Jeff, and we're drinking. He then orders 3 bottles of wine. So now each of us have had 2 cocktails and a bottle of wine. No joke. I'm not exaggerating.
It's.
We then go to the bar, and Vishal's like, oh, this is my favorite bar, Pouring Ribbons, which has, because of that night, has become like my favorite bar. I love that bar. Awesome bar, like in Alphabet City. And then it's like a chartreuse bar. They have this like whole chartreuse vertical. So we each have a cocktail there. Then we start dipping in the chartreuse. And I'm like, yo, I got to impress this dude. He's the like head som at EMP. They have this one like super 1910 VEP chartreuse. There's like one bottle in America, and they've got it. And it's like $200 an ounce. And I was like, yeah, I need that. I got to like impress this dude. So I was like, yeah, bring on that VEP shit. Bring on that super old chartreuse. And so we like, I get a pour of it, and we all just kind of pour it around. And I'm fucking hammered. So I forgot to mention that when I went in for the initial interview, I had been drinking with the sommelier the night before, and I was hungover as fuck.
Word.
Nice.
But all of it worked out.
Yeah.
I feel you.
So I go and, switch up my whole life, and then move to New York. And I get to New York, and the only 2 people I know are Vishal. And this is how far Vishal. So during this whole period, I also taught at the Scratch Academy here, the DJ school here.
Yeah.
I taught there for 3 years. And one of my students, I kept in touch with a handful of students, the ones that were like cool and had good taste in music, you know? And one of them was this girl named Sarah, with amazing taste in music. She was living with her boyfriend in the South Street Seaport in a place that was like just about to start getting rebuilt because it got demolished during Sandy. So they were living like down, way down, you know, on Water Street. And I couldn't move. In between that time, I flew myself back out to New York to find an apartment, right? Which, you know, is like the worst fucking thing ever. But I couldn't move into my place until like 3 weeks after my initial start date for work. So it was like this weird time where like I kind of had to start this job, but I had nowhere to live. Yeah. So Sarah talked her boyfriend into letting me sleep on, like, they had like an extra mattress on the floor in his apartment. Nice. For 3 weeks on the floor in this random dude's place.
There you go. That's how it starts.
On Water Street. Yep. Yeah. Being rebuilt from Sandy. Yeah. Starting this brand new job. I knew nothing.
Welcome to New York. That's how it's done.
I just got fucking thrown into it.
And that's how you do it. It's like jumping in the cold pool.
Yeah. And that's how it started. Oof. And yeah, I mean, honestly, I knew nothing. I knew absolutely nothing. But I got schooled beyond what anyone could ever imagine at that place.
Yeah. I mean, now you're in there and like it's your world. Like you're going to outwork everybody, and just the education that you're getting. And also, I think you're doing it with the right mentality, too, of you already accepted that this was going to be a learning experience and being okay with starting at the bottom, and you just want to be in that environment. It's just like your mind is free to just soak it in like a sponge.
Yeah, and it was exactly that. It was like, because I think of my age and my maturity, I wanted to soak it all up. It wasn't just like a job. It wasn't just like something to do, and it's like, oh, I got to learn this new menu, or I got to learn this wine pairing, or like, what is, you know, this type of rum, or who knows, whatever it is. And it's like, I knew nothing.
And now, what was that like just in New York? Your life is so polar opposite of what you've all done. I mean, I want to even touch on the fact that what's it like to kind of give up music in your music career? You know,
it was hard, but like,
I mean, you're not making like a hard choice, like I'm never doing music again, but it's like
but I stopped. I effectively made a decision.
When you kind of when you close that door, kind of like you're grinding, you're doing spots, you're producing, you're DJing, you know, you're writing music, doing all these things. And now you take a complete change of stopping music. You know, what was that like?
I mean, it was really hard to come to that decision, but in the same time, like, it was really refreshing. Yeah. I felt like I was doing, there was a lot of it was like, I felt like I had to do it because I made this decision that this was going to be my life and this was going to be my work, and I was going to like live off of music. And I was like, you know, like unless you're here, it's like, whatever you can do. Can you do that? Yeah, I can do that. Take a job. Right. It's a job. Right. I got that. It's a gig. Right. Yeah. And it's like, I just made this decision. I was like, I'm not going to work like that. Like I'd never had a boss before. You know, I worked for myself from college on. Yeah. I was working for myself, just making it work. Yeah. You know, fortunate to have a good background, just making it work. Yeah. And all of a sudden I had 10 bosses, and I was at the bottom of I went from running my own business to being at the absolute bottom of the totem pole. Yeah. Not just at the bottom, the guy at the bottom that knew fucking nothing. Yeah.
The bottom of the bottom.
The bottom of the bottom. Like literally, like the bottom of your shoe, the gum on the shoe. And like,
like the gum on the bottom of the gum on the shoe. The
wrapper that's stuck to the gum on the bottom of the shoe. And the like patch of hair. No one knows where the patch of hair came from, but it's like on the shoe. Yeah. But it was like, honestly, it was super liberating. Yeah. It was so freeing. I just got to like,
I love that.
Be Matt Seigel. Ooh. No one there knew who Matter was. Yeah. It didn't mean shit. That name didn't mean shit. It wasn't Matt who grew up playing baseball. It wasn't Matter the DJ. It wasn't this dude. It wasn't so-and-so's like tour guy. It wasn't like Adam's partner. It wasn't the dude from Mud Lushes. It was just, oh, you're Matt from California? Yeah, that's cool. Because I didn't know anybody, right? Like you said, start over. I didn't know anybody. And I just be free and just learn and just soak this up. I spent so much time in that fucking restaurant. I was never home. One, I didn't have any friends. Two, I was sleeping on the fucking floor.
Yeah.
Until I moved into my place, you know? And then even in my place, like I picked a place that was close to work because I walked to work every day, which is the greatest feeling in the whole world, walking to work. Oh my God. I miss not driving. I fucking hate driving. I love walking everywhere and taking the subway. And I just like made that my world. I put my head down and I didn't look up for 3 years.
So true.
Wild.
I immersed myself in that world. I spent all of my time in that restaurant.
Like the definition, like this dude put everything on ice for 3 years and went into a hole and then came out.
How old were you when you made that decision?
I was 32 years old.
This was 3 years ago.
So 32.
I was old. That's old to make a life change like that. Completely change your whole life. And I'm working with people there that are like in their early 20s, you know? But like I said to Joe, like that played to my advantage.
The walrus.
Cuckoo, cuckoo.
And ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about our photographer, Spatos, that's over here like walrusing sweet nothings to God knows who. You know what I'm saying? No, but that's brilliant though. I forget who the fuck said this quote. Like, I'm not big on these quotables, but like, it was to the effect of like, no age can limit you to what you want to do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
And at 32, you put your head down for 3 years. You were a DJ, music producer. You've been in the game, like entertainment. You're making money. You're living comfortably. It may not be lavishly as comfortably. You're creating, but you're also like trapped in this machine and you want out. But like 32, right?
It's not a young man.
Yeah, you also want to...
We're young. Let's not...
Yeah, we're young.
But let's not...
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you can't be like, oh my God, it's going to take me X amount of years. It's just either you want it or you don't.
Right.
Right? But it's beautiful for like, at the same time, there's like such a gorgeous through line in your story in where you're willing, able, and you actually want to escape. And, you know, whatever the I guess the touch point is, like, I can't pinpoint, but your ability to believe in why you're leaving and the comfort in that decision is beautiful for me. Right?
It's scary. It was super scary. I'm not going to lie. Right? They just taking that jump.
Yeah.
But
you wanted something different.
Without a doubt, one of the best decisions I've ever made in my whole life. Far no doubt. No doubt. Even leaving New York was really hard. And even that was a great decision because I knew I needed to do that to progress. But I could have lived in New York forever. Yeah. I just fell in love. I fell in love with that world. I fell in love with that restaurant. I fell in love with that city, the people. Like, I love New York. I seriously love New York. I could live there in a second.
What took you out of New York?
I'll get to that. But I just want to touch on, like, being at 11 Madison Park. I like can't stress enough the diligence of that place is the only word I can put. It's like that strive for perfection. And everybody, you talk about a team and bringing people together, everybody wants the same thing because there's no me there. It's a restaurant. The restaurant's not a person, but it's living. It's definitely a living, breathing fucking ecosystem, right? There's food and there's water and like you can live in a restaurant.
Yeah.
And you become a family. And that family like is all striving for the same thing. And it's way different than when you go to Denny's on the corner. Like, it's a different thing. And people think restaurant, and you're like, oh, well, you're just like a waiter. But it was something bigger. You can't, it's not, I'm not able to verbalize it. You have to experience it. You can't understand what that's like. To want to, like, play at that level.
Absolutely.
And so, like I said, like, I took full advantage of that. And I stayed there. I lived there. I wanted to be there all the time. I studied. I mean, we had pamphlets this thick to learn the menu. Like, that was the menu. And then there was wine. You know, I didn't know about wine.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about wine. I know a lot about wine. Now I'm like creating wine menus for people. And like I was arguing with a guy today because he wanted to skimp me out of some money. It's like, no, you're going to pay me to pick this wine list for you. Yeah. You know? Because I just like you
work
hang
for
out
that,
there,
bro.
You hang out there and you just absorb knowledge.
Yeah.
You can't not.
Yeah.
And that work ethic paid off there. And I moved up fast, real fast. I moved on from kitchen server after I was a kitchen server for like 6 months. And that's a long time.
Yeah.
But in that restaurant, that's short. 6 months?
Yeah. That's a pay your dues restaurant.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then you get moved into like you actually start working in the dining room. And then your next step, you just get to pour water. That's it. Or you can actually touch something that's going to touch someone's table.
Wild.
You can pour that water. But you spill that water.
Wild.
Just pouring water. That was the job.
Wild.
You're going to pour the fucking water.
And that's an elevated level.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You're touching something that someone's that a guest is going to have.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Oh, we're going to try that. Oh, yeah.
And then from there, I was really fortunate. I got to move over to the bar, which is where I really got to shine. And I was only in the dining room for like 3 months. And then instantly I was just like, and I don't know if that was like, yo, this dude Seigel can't be in this fucking dining room.
Yeah.
Send his ass to the bar. Yeah. Or they knew that was something that I was really interested in.
Got it.
You know, in my like 3 month, you know, whatever breakdown with the GM review, they were really good about that. They're like, here's what you're doing wrong. Here's what you're doing well. What are you actually interested in? And I told them, I was like, the two things that I really am interested in, tea and cocktails. And I got to be like a major part of the tea program there and develop a lot of that tea program. And then I got to be part of the bar and end up developing a lot of that bar program.
Wild.
So I not only got to learn, I got to learn all of the aspects of running food and how food comes out of a kitchen. I got to learn how,
Mind you, at one of the top 5 restaurants in the world.
in the whole world.
This isn't like
No. Yeah. Oh, my God.
this isn't like you're.
And
at
that's
Il
why I talk
Pastel
about it
or
like
anything.
it's an actual education. It's
Yeah.
not just like a day job.
Yeah.
Like I was getting schooled. Like I went straight to graduate school.
You went to fucking Harvard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Straight there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In kindergarten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went from like 8th grade to I didn't go to high school. I didn't go to college. I went straight to Harvard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I got to learn how that works. I got to spend time in the dining room, learn how a dining room operates on that level. And then I got to go to the bar, and that's when things really like started to take off. And I spent the rest of my time at the bar for the rest of my tenure there. And I got to learn from some of the best bartenders on planet Earth. And like, you know, Roush knows, like, I was always just into that. Like, I was making shit at home, like doing all these weird infusions and concoctions and like, all shit, just because I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
Because it was sciencey and nerdy, and like, that was me going all the way back to that idea of like sampling. And that it all comes back to that, where it's like, I'm going to take a little bit of this record, and a little bit of this record, and this, and then kind of tweak it this way. Oh, instead of making a beat, that's a cocktail. It's the same thing. Wow. And that's how I think about making drinks. And that's what's honestly allowed me to excel past so many people.
I feel you.
Because I think about it like making a song.
Yeah.
Like making a beat.
You're not trying to do that
the
job,
same
but
part of your brain.
You're creating.
Yeah.
It's the same part of your brain. And now I get to be completely creative. But instead of making something that goes in your ear, it goes in your mouth.
I feel you. Can we have like a cocktail night, bro? Can we just get lit as fuck?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We definitely. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I brought champagne.
Let's go. And I'm going to swig the rest of this out of the bottle.
But then, you know,
By the way, he only had a plan to stay in New York for a year.
Oh, yeah. I even told them in my interview I was only going to be there for 12 to 18 months tops. Also something you should never say.
I feel you.
Coming from the guy who doesn't go to job interviews.
The guy that had options. The guy that had options. Uprooting his life, but he had options.
I'm only going to be here for a year, learn everything you teach me, and then bounce.
Yeah.
Thank
I literally
you.
said that. I was like, yeah, I plan to just be here and then learn and go do my own thing. I said that.
Asshole.
Like an idiot. And I stayed there for 3 years.
Yeah.
And I could have stayed 20 more.
Word. Why didn't you?
So,
or what took you away?
11 Madison Park has a sister restaurant called the Nomad, which is inside of the Nomad Hotel on 28 and Broadway.
Another very, very...
11 Madison Park is the number 3 restaurant in the world. Nomad is the number 8 bar in the world. Like, they're not fucking around. The 11 Madison Park is definitely known for food. Nomad's known for cocktails. Yeah. As I was going through my tenure as bartender there and doing well, I got asked to go start splitting time between 11 Madison Park and the Nomad. So essentially working at both places at the same time. Only 2 other people have ever done it. So there's 3 of us that have ever done that ever. And it's fucking hardcore.
Wow.
Super hardcore. Because the Nomad itself has 2 bars. So I'm essentially working at 3 of the best bars in the world at the same time.
Fuck.
All in 1 week, all in the same week, and then over and over and over again.
Like
and they all have different menus.
That's a crash course in this.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And like doing R&D and tasting twice a week, every week, with the best palates in the world. And they're them telling me that my drinks are fucking killing it. Like, what? Literally, they're like, we've never met anyone that thinks about drinks the way that you think about them. And it's because I think about it like making a beat. Seriously.
Because you're a producer.
Yeah. It's like all these different things, like frequency. Like a fucking crash cymbal is like lemon juice. It's like high, and it's like high frequency and high acid.
Yeah.
Bass note is like sugar, whiskey. It's like all of these things. It's like the same. It's the same part of your brain. It's exactly the same part of your brain.
It trips me the fuck out because it's like you would never be able to know that your skill set in music would allow you to think differently in hospitality. Or that it even be something attributable, like to be able to like bring it in. You know what I'm saying? Like, because like when we're on our paths, we think so linearly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, straight shot.
Yeah.
But who would have known that you got a shot to work at one of the top 5 restaurants in the world, right? Top 8 bars. Like, this is like literally top 10 echelon of the world going on in hospitality, food, and beverage. And I would have loved to say the young gunner came in, but the 32-year-old stunner came in.
Yeah.
Right. Ooh. And started literally putting his flair on the skill sets that you'd learned. But being comfortable enough to see it in a comfortable space. Because a lot of people in those environments, and correct me if I'm wrong, are like bound by trying to impress.
Of course, and there's this law that you have to kind of abide
how could
by.
my palate ever be as good as these guys? Like if you're thinking about it that way, you're fucked, right? But you were still creating. Now your hi-hat became a fucking liqueur or God knows what. You know what I'm saying? I stopped there because I got it, and then I'm not going any fucking further because I wouldn't be able to attribute anything else to that. We won there. We're good. You know what I'm saying?
Noosh knows what hi-hats are, bro.
But, like, it's beautiful to me because, like, yes, you wanted it. Yes, you fucking put your everything into it. But you also were familiar in a unusual and unique way. And, like, the peculiarity of your abilities was really what probably shined through. Like, right? Your ability to, like, see, like, to utilize the sonic landscape and bring it to taste and to curating a beverage. You don't learn that. That's not learned. Like, you don't, like, a sommelier in training or a fucking one of the most lit bartenders or cocktail creators in the world learns from the lineage of creating that.
Right.
But you came as the unicorn, you know what I'm saying, into this like confined space, but this confined space is like literally like Harvard library times a million, and you have professors at will call ready to define shit that you don't know. But you still are able to use your originality. And like I think it's a very like brilliant touch point to say that, you know, our uniqueness and our paths like really allow us to shine. It's not a matter of just being the best at what you do, because at the end of the day, Jason Timberlake was really good at fucking creating, you know what I'm saying? And Pharrell with an F and one L was really good at producing whatever the fuck, you know what I'm saying, scores were needed for God knows what, right? But the enjoyment that you got from being in a brand new landscape and also being able to utilize your want to give, but also your ability to create and put things together and see it differently allowed you to thrive and is gorgeous for me to even just like digest. You know what I'm saying?
No, 100%. I got to put all of it together and I got to be myself. I got to put all of it. I got to put that sense of community and bringing together. It wasn't about me. It wasn't Matt Seigel's restaurant.
Yeah.
It was just some drink that some dude got at 11 Madison Park. My name wasn't on that, and I was totally fine with that. I got to like deliver impeccable service.
Yeah.
Right. Just give, like literally the art of giving
at the highest level.
At the highest level.
Yeah.
And then be insanely creative.
And at the same time, bro, it's probably just the same feeling as hearing your song on the radio.
Yeah.
But on a nightly basis.
Every time.
Yeah.
I get to watch someone's face when they drink my drink.
Yeah.
Over and over and over.
Every single time.
Yeah.
You're in the car every time.
You get that
that
like smile.
And lightweight, sometimes you just know. Like you want to fuck with, like, I know what you're about to do. What's up?
And it's like being able to, like get that education.
Yeah.
And be like classically trained. And then become, for lack of a better word, good enough to then be comfortable enough to be myself, right? Because you got to go through that. You got to learn. You got to learn the rules to break them, right? You got to be tight to be sloppy, right?
When did you get there?
It took me a while. Like every step of that restaurant was starting all over again.
Yeah.
Starting as kitchen server, I didn't know shit.
Yeah.
Dropping plates, putting things wrong place, whatever. Go pour water, you're spilling water. Like that doesn't seem like a big deal, but it's like you can't fucking pour water right. You know, being a bar back, I was a bar back for 9 fucking months.
Wow,
that's a long time. Just bringing fucking ice, stock glassware, clear shit. You don't get to touch a fucking cocktail. But I'm getting my ass whooped and learning. Not until the bartender there, Jim Betts. Shout out to Jim Betts. He is the one that actually taught me everything.
Yeah,
I give him full credit. He had to fight for me to become a bartender.
Wild.
They didn't want to promote me. They didn't. No one thought I was ready except for Jim. But they needed another bartender because they were short-staffed.
And they had to listen to Jim.
And they were going to take someone from somewhere else.
Oh, wow.
And not promote me. They were going to promote above me. And Jim stuck his neck out for me. They're like, Seigel's not ready. He's slow. He's not ready to go. He's not ready to go. I had this like California stigma about me. Seriously, they're like, yo, California, move faster. Like, we're not on the fucking beach, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I got that all the time.
You're just like, bro, we're not in the 6th grade anymore, G. Like,
but it was like,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, yeah, man, they'll be fine. They'll get their food. They'll get their drinks. They're like, no, right? Jim fought for me. They were like, yo, it's got to be Seigel. Like, he's ready. He's the right one. Like, he's here. Like, he's been busting his ass.
Yeah.
And I remember I had a meeting with our owner and the like beverage director and Jim, and they were like, we don't think that you're ready. Jim thinks that you are. We're worried that we even have to have this conversation with you. Like, why aren't you ready? Is that their fault for not training you right? Or is that your fault for not ingesting that information?
Oh, wow.
So we can't decide who's at fault, but either way, you're not ready.
Ooh.
And so I stepped out of that meeting and I was deflated, right? Because I'm busting my ass so hard. And like a couple of days later, Jim comes up to me. He's like, hey, man, we had a couple other meetings. You're going to get the job. I had to really stick my neck out for you. And I'll never forget this. He's like, just hit a fucking home run.
Oh, fuck. You don't need the notepad for that one. Just hit a fucking home run.
That's what he said to me.
That's fucking incredible.
And I hit a fucking home run.
Oof.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Ooh. For real.
Yeah. And then from that point, when I became a bartender, like clearly there's a massive learning curve to learn how to like properly work clean. The idea of like being clean and efficient and fast. It's not about that being creative. That shit comes later.
Yeah,
you don't get to create anything.
You're in the belly of the beast at that point.
Yeah. You got to make perfect drinks for every single person every single time.
And especially in that crowd.
Oh, yeah.
You're not at a fucking sports bar where it's like, let me get a Jack and Coke, bro. Yeah. Like, and these are people, like even your patrons' palates
Here's a vodka cranberry.
Yeah. Palates and egos are at their maximum there.
We're paying this. How much money for this dinner? I want that shit perfect, and I want it now.
This isn't how I tasted it when Jim made it.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. He also made it 4 minutes faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was all that before I even get to being creative.
Yeah.
And I remember one night, like I was working on some stuff because I was still a bar back at this point, and I was already starting to like experiment just because I wanted it. Like I just wanted to do it because I was like inspired. And all through all of that, I just want to touch on the fact that I still got to do music at that place. So like I said, they're super into jazz at 11 Madison Park. And there was a guy that like, you know, every restaurant has like music playing, and most people don't listen to it, and most places don't give a fuck. They just put on like Pandora and let it go. Right. That's kind of what they were doing. They had a guy that was like putting some stuff together, and because it's Miles Davis, he put like a bunch of Miles Davis songs on, and they just like played it off an iPod. And he was leaving, you know, he like had gone to take a new job, and someone approached me about like helping update this playlist. I was like, yeah, I can fuck with that. Yeah. So
you goddamn right.
I redid the playlist at EMP for free. I was like, yeah, I just want to do it. I'm not gonna charge you to make playlists. Like I just want I know. We did this playlist, and all of a sudden there's like real fucking jazz going on in this place. You know, I sit down with the owner, and I'll never forget this fucking line I said to him. And me being the fucking idiot again, right? Yeah. I'm sitting down with the owner, Will, who has become an incredibly close friend of mine now. But I sit down with Will for the first time to talk about music. And he's like, how do you see the playlist going? And I was like, well, you know, it needs to be less jazz and more jazz. He's like, what do you mean by that? And I literally,
I love how you like accented that too. It needs to be less jazz and more jazz.
Yeah, I was like, it just needed to be like fucking cooler.
Yeah.
But what I said to him was not the word cool. I was like, it needs to be more black.
Lit.
And he like looked at me and he was like, you're totally right.
Yeah.
And I didn't.
Goddamn right.
Yeah. That's not a racist. I wouldn't mean it in that sense.
That's
no,
that's
100%. Yeah.
That's just where that's
how
that music should sound.
Take it to the origin, B.
Yeah.
What you over here doing?
And from that moment on, he was like, all right.
It's lit.
This dude knows what's up.
Yeah.
And he has the balls to tell me what's up.
Yeah.
And from that on, that's how he and I forged this amazing relationship.
Awesome.
Because I was the only person that worked for him that kept it fucking real.
Yeah.
And I would say like the first meetings we ever had was mostly just about music.
Yeah.
And I would call him out. I'd be like, that's wrong. Like, no, that's not going to sound good.
Because
like,
you also had that pedigree though.
Right. And he respected that. You know, or I'd play a song and he'd be like, this doesn't make me feel comfortable. I'm like, okay, but why? What about this? And you got to listen to it and like, this is a meal we're talking about, right?
No, because you were like, who are you thinking about when you're uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Can you just listen to this?
Yeah. And he like then said to me, he's like, you know what I appreciate most about you is you make me uncomfortable. You make me okay feeling uncomfortable with these choices, and you'll tell me about it and we'll work through it.
Yeah.
Like a dude like that, and a lot of people we talk about in this industry, in any industry, got a lot of yes people around them, right?
Oh,
you get to that
straight
level,
up. Straight the fuck
and
up.
like, again, coming back to me, I'm a grown man. I'm 1 year younger than he is. The owner, 1 year younger than him.
Wild.
We're the same age.
Wild.
So we could talk like grown.
The general fucking manager was younger than you,
me.
and then the owner is a
1
year older.
than me. And I never had a boss before.
Started from the bottom, now we here.
Yeah. And so we could become real friends. And from then, I did that one playlist for them, and now I'm the music director for their whole brand.
That's fucking lit.
I've DJ'd every event. I've DJ'd all like the fucking craziest James Beard parties, all these Pellegrino parties. I was at his fucking wedding, he started this conference called the Welcome Conference.
Can you
I've
like
been directed all of those
that,
conferences.
G? Imagine this. You could have never expected that just being matter. But you broke yourself, went out on a whim, explored another interest of yours, right? At an age where it's like, bruh, like we're in our golden 30s here, right? But full circle came around.
And it happened organically.
Yeah.
I didn't try it. I wasn't going to New York. Like, I got asked all the time, are you going to go DJ? I'm like, dude, the fuck out of here. I'm here to do this.
Yeah. And do you. And this was you. I mean, and what's beautiful about this, all along while it's happening, Matt and I are having conversations. I remember vividly the night before you left. We're sitting at your table, it's me, Kalia, and you, and we're just talking about this journey. And every moment that you've come back, and we've touched base on exactly where you are, and seeing that evolution. It's not even like an evolution. You're still now just doing really you. And being here in LA, I think was impossible to do because of kind of everything that you had become. It wasn't really you, you know?
Yeah, and the history that you have.
Yeah, and now you got like that blank canvas to not be Matter, but to be Matt Seigel. And that's why I go back to, like, sometimes when you get sucked up in this music world, you become a character. You become all the things you think you should be. You know, you become, you know, or try to do these things just to feed what you think your dream is. And that's when when I'm saying, like, that's how you kind of like lose yourself in that. And this gave you the opportunity to, it's not like you went from being a musician to now working in the food industry. You just harness everything you had within you, your same skills and talents and everything, and just applied them to just another area, you know. But the essence of who you are hasn't changed, you know. In fact, it's just been more discovery to get there, you know, dial in more to who you really are.
It's allowed me to be more me, honestly.
Yeah, strip down and just fucking be you.
Yeah.
You know, take all that shit off. Start from the bottom, you know, and that's why you say, look, it was refreshing. Yeah, it must have been. So you can finally fucking be you. And it's in those moments where you see how much you can thrive in that, you know, and allow yourself to thrive and give yourself that. And it's crazy.
That's been the hardest thing for me coming back.
Oh.
Is maintaining that new person
here. Yeah, I imagine.
Because I've changed, but Los Angeles hasn't changed, and a lot of the people in Los Angeles haven't changed.
Yeah,
and a lot of the friends that I have are friends because of duration,
history. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, duration.
We're like, not because we maybe don't have that much in common,
right?
But we've known each other since we were, however, you know, teenagers or younger.
Yeah.
And you know, like when you leave, you actually realize you learn quickly who your real friends are. Totally. The people that you really keep in touch with.
Totally.
And that number got real small.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's honest.
Right.
And that's been a big adjustment for me here, is being this person here where it's like, okay, I'm back to being myself, working for myself. I left New York because I knew that there was opportunity here. But then not being caught up in being Matter here.
Right.
And just going the same shit, getting sucked into the same things, or getting distracted by this or doing that or whatever. Or it's like this preconceived notion or that like view of you. I'm talking about like me being back here now after this like transformation. And like trying to explain what that was like. Like I still feel like I'm not doing it justice, explaining what that was, because I can't. Yeah. I have so many stories and so many instances and so many like,
but do you need
moments? No, I don't. I'm doing it for you guys.
Yeah.
Like I know.
Yeah.
It's for me.
When I ask that, I'm just saying like to others.
No, but when that question gets asked, like, oh, what are you doing now? What were you doing in New York?
Yeah.
You know, and like you said, the title. Well, what were you doing? I was like, oh, I was at this amazing restaurant, blah, 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 or like, however I want to spin it. And I don't feel like I need to spin it.
You don't.
I don't fucking care. But my job was a bartender. That was on my pay stub.
Yeah.
Matt Seigel, bartender. So but if I say that, same like with growing up in Beverly Hills, there's a stigma. It's like, oh, you're a bartender? Like, oh, you're a DJ? Like, oh, you're whatever?
Yeah.
It's like, that's cool. But what do you really do? You know, it's like, well, I can't. I'm not. How am I going to explain that?
And especially with you, bro. Like, you can't. But like, again, it goes back to our jobs or our titles don't define us, right? like you could be a bartender, but like your love of tending the bar expands far beyond any like normal person's reach of what that could be, right? And the possibilities that you see are endless, but like you don't need to explain that. The only person you need to explain that to or even be comfortable with is you. You know what I'm saying? Somebody hears bartender, they're like, what, like, where do you go from there? Right?
So where do you work?
Yeah.
Where do you bartend?
Yeah. But look where bartending has took you.
Yeah, absolutely. And the craft itself is going crazy right now.
Yeah.
I mean, cocktails are everywhere. Yeah, I mean, it like my life is amazing, and I get to like be super creative, and I get to like curate music and curate drinks and be like in a very incredibly creative space.
Yeah.
Which is
your
I
essence.
get to be creative. I get to like bring people together, and I get to give, right? That's the three things that have been talking about this whole time.
You're goddamn right.
And I get to do that at the highest level.
Yeah.
And in the exact way that I want to do it.
Yeah. What more can you ask for? Do I need to hit him with that right now? Mama, we made